sings that song?
I see what
George Magnusson from Stockholm, Sweden.
Yeah, we should keep it that way. Let's let him sing it next time.
you walked right into that.
You
Craig.
told me. You give me the hot mic before, and then you start singing the song during the intro. Come on, we're having fun here.
Good afternoon.
We're back.
It's morning before
We're
you
back.
say afternoon.
We're back. Good morning, almost
think
good
it's-
afternoon.
yeah.
My name is Craig Lockett. I'm the lead podcast host for the Recruiter Podcast. I'm the youngest man in the car business, and that is proven today, yes, by a phone call from Troy Spring on the way to Troy Spring, our anniversary guest. He was on the podcast, our first podcast, just a little bit over a year ago. And to prove that I'm the youngest man in the car business, this morning on the way in, he gave me a call and said, well, you want to hear the good news or the bad news? I said, no, I don't care. He said, well, the bad news is I got about halfway there and I forgot to bring the PermaSafe.
My bad.
Loved it. Senior moment at half my age.
And by the way, I'd like to mention I was still here on time.
Right.
Absolutely.
He was still here on time.
I was a half hour from my house when I told you that I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Had to
How
go
did
back
you
for
get
it.
here on time, by the way?
My wife.
There's no B to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say just leave it.
Yeah,
At that.
we
Yeah,
can
we'll
leave
just
it
leave
at
it at that.
Yeah.
She met me halfway with the PermaSafe, and then
Shout out to Brittany Spring.
and then I told Alex that if he did 100, I'd pay the ticket.
Right.
I normally have this thing with Alex, like I tell him all the time, I don't pay tickets.
Right.
So however you want to drive, you drive.
really?
I trust you, but I don't pay tickets. So
Interesting.
if you're gonna speed,
Right.
that's up to you.
Alex
Today I told him I'd pay the ticket.
Interesting.
Alex is Troy Spring's driver.
So
So he's responsible for all his own violations.
yeah.
Yeah.
If he's gonna drive, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's interesting.
Because I want to get there safe. I never tell him to speed to get me anywhere, except for you today, Craig.
Right.
I literally said whatever
Break
you got to
the speed
do.
limit.
Yeah, whatever. Just get there on time.
All right. So, I guess I should actually share this stuff out.
By the way, a little shout out to Alex. I haven't seen him, very much because of the
Sure.
COVID-19. I haven't been driving around much, and
COVID-19.
it's one of those things where you realize how much you miss people.
Yeah, right.
It was
weird.
so cool to see him this morning and
bet,
hang out
man.
and just catch up, and so
Yeah, he's a good dude.
he is.
Hey, Dave, I don't see. Oh, yes, I did. Never mind. My bad. Okay, folks, we need you to do us some favors. We forget how to do some of this, so we're going to need some help of it. We need this shared around a little bit, so we're going to ask you to do that. We are live on YouTube. We are live on our Facebook page, AutoMax Recruiting. I'm going to put it to my timeline now. I really would appreciate if you guys would share this to groups. I think we're going to have a pretty interesting conversation. What's going to happen here is we're going to spend some time here with Troy, 30, 40 minutes-ish.
Whatever you want.
And we're going to talk about some things that we're involved in, he's involved in, that involve dealers, that is vitally important for dealers and managers to be listening to. Then he's going to scoot out of here. And then Joe and I, based on me harassing him, we're going to talk about some social issues that are facing our nation right now. That ties into the overall title of today's show. So that's what you have, and we're going to get started here just like right now. Somebody talk while I'm doing this stuff.
Somebody talk.
Yeah.
It's good stuff here, guys. Somebody talk. That's what you get with the Recruiter Podcast.
I know, right?
So, what's new?
Just how what?
Yeah,
what is
so
new?
what's been happening?
Speaking of which, when
Been busy, I can tell you that.
When's the last time I saw you?
It's been a while. Let me think. Was it here?
No.
Couldn't have been. Couldn't have been.
It's weird. We talk, so it feels
a
like we've seen
year.
each other, and then you don't see anybody anymore, so you don't even realize.
So
that
what?
It's funny.
What about your
Guess it was
the gig that I spoke at in the conference in New Jersey? That was before this.
That was before. So I guess it was
It might have
last
been,
time you were here.
Might have been here.
Wow.
A year. It's been a year.
Right?
That's bizarre.
You start to think as you
We're
get older,
lame.
like, holy crap, you got to see people that you really care about and love more than once a year. Don't
That's
you?
pathetic.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what. I had big plans for this summer too. We talked about going to a concert together with the wives, And
a
I
Ray
wanted
LaMontagne concert or something?
man, a nice outside concert, and then of course that squashed, and then I wanted to do like a Mid-Atlantic members of the automotive community friends get together at Chef Vola's in Atlantic City. I talked to Frank Lopes about it and a few people. That's squashed. I guess we could do that now.
We could
do that later this summer. We should talk about that.
We could
Vola's
do like
is pretty cool.
We could do the old 6-foot deal, you know.
Not at Vola's, you can't.
I know.
You're sitting on top of each other. That's about the only place you can't. There's no way there's social distancing.
Yeah. No, you know what? I've been busy. I'm sure you guys have been too.
For sure.
I know that we've been talking a lot, and there's a lot going on. It's just been a different kind of busy.
Yeah.
You know, which is it takes a little getting used to.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize, you know, look, I'm still busy, and it's different. It's definitely
something to
different.
do.
Right. Well, let's talk about that. Let's get into it. Isn't it weird the way words work? We get into a whole different vocabulary like every 6 months, and today's word is pivot.
Yeah, that's a buzzword right now. Right?
Oh, man. I'm so sick of it.
We're going to pivot.
Even though we've pivoted and we are pivoting.
We have. I just want to use a different word for it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We've changed. We've added.
Yeah.
We've changed direction. We've added direction. So let's talk about some of the pivots that dealer world has made, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the big pivots that really doesn't necessarily have to do with dealers, but it has to do with a lot of businesses maybe that listen to your podcast too is, you know, you call me the oldest guy in a car business because of my forgetful mind this morning about.
Well, I call myself the youngest.
Okay,
man.
yeah, all right, yeah, I might be a little.
It doesn't mean you're the oldest.
So, you know, well, in my office, I you know, I hate to admit it, but you know, I'm getting up there in my office.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, about a year ago, we started talking about some work at home days and things like that. And, you know, the millennials that would like to maybe have a little bit more freedom. And
Pre-COVID or?
Way pre.
Right.
Yeah. Like a year ago.
I remember you talking about
right.
this.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
and, you know, it's funny. I always think you really taught me, Craig, in all the you know, AutoMax recruiting and training things that I've listened to you and speaking gigs and, you know, that money's not the number one motivator for employees. And, you know, even so, you know, I had a really struggling time with this, you know, more work at home time and all that. And so in our office, I kind of put my foot down and said, you know, we'll do some, but we're not doing a lot. Like we need to be together. We need to band together. We need to be cohesive. We need to be across from each other. If I need somebody, I need to pull them in my office, you know, all that. Right. And so here's this interesting thing. You know what? 70 days, I think we haven't been in office, and my team has not skipped a beat.
Right, and it all goes out the window, and you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So now I'm paying the price for that. You know?
Right.
So I'm definitely paying the price because you know, like, you know, my wife, like she's like, well, was I right? And I'm like, yeah,
So
you were
look,
right. Yeah, it works.
You are, but you were right before.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing we could change about our company, it's that we get to spend more time together.
Yes.
And we do the best we can and we talk and stuff, but there's no substitute for face-to-face.
Well,
It's difficult.
So when we go back, it's just going to be different. It's not going to be
Sure.
that we're not going to have an office and we're not going to be together and we're not going
Right.
to all work at home all the time like we
Right.
have the last 70 days. But I'm going to do more of a hybrid because our team has really built a lot of trust with me. That we have not skipped a beat and they can do the job and I can trust them. And so it has forced me down that lane, which makes me realize, again, going back to what you taught me, is that, you know, look, money's not the number one motivator for any employee. Not that I think, you know, employers shouldn't, you know, pay fairly and squarely and pay well and motivate people. But it's not all that matters to people.
Nope.
And I've been doing a lot of research, in just conversational research with my team and asking them point blank, hey, do you want to come back like full-time 5 days a week in the office? And they're like, look, I don't know that I want to be at home all the time, but you know, this works for me. I don't have to be 5 days a week in the office to get my job done.
It'll be interesting to see what the answer to that question is once kids go back to school.
Yeah, right.
That's going to throw a whole nother monkey into that wrench.
Yeah.
I think my point here isn't that I advocate for 100% work at home or anything. I would just say that it opened my eyes that there's more possibilities and maybe a hybrid will work for a company like mine.
Right. Well, it's hard, dude. I'll give you a very recent example. When you break down communication about business via text, via DM, whatever you want to do.
Right.
Joe sends me a text, I don't know, Saturday. And I went into this big, long thing. And he was asking me, the text in my mind read a dollar amount for a person, and have we agreed on that? And my response was, dude, I'm taking the weekend off. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's, I thought we were here on that situation and we're not. And it's like, and I had a discussion with another person and, I kind of like that direction and this and that and another thing. Big, long text reply.
Right.
He responded, LOL. That's not even close to what I'm talking about. And it was like a complete breakdown in communication based on either the way he may have put the text better,
right?
But it was in a text group that I should have picked up on that's what he was talking about.
Sure.
But I totally missed it. So my response was not even close to what he was talking about.
Right.
And it turned out being funny as hell. But it's
making for pretty good podcast material.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's some others too. Yeah, there's some others too.
I feel like I've gotten to know you guys better over the last 90 days too. This relationship.
Yeah, well, that's why it blew my mind when you said we haven't seen each other since the podcast. I'm like, no, that's not right. I'm sure we did something.
Has he invited you personally yet to his new spread, the Spring Estates?
This guy?
Yeah.
Spring Trail.
No, he did me.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, congratulations.
Okay, well.
So anyway, all that we're saying right here, to get back on track, is really, I feel, applicable to the entire business world and to the social world. So when you talk about the remote stuff, you talk about text messaging and non-face-to-face communication or non-face-to-face business transactions, I think that's the perfect takeaway, is that it's not a replacement. And I think we've all seen it's not a replacement over the past 2-3 months, but we've seen both sides of it.
Right.
We've seen how adaptable people can be. And good things have come out of it. And we'll talk about what you're talking about with your clients and what you've seen with your clients. And I've seen it with restaurants. I've seen restaurants do some amazing things just to stay above water and make it frickin' work, dude.
Okay, so on that note, this is what I think has happened to our company, and I'd like to think and hope that it's happened to a lot of companies, restaurants, our dealer groups, anybody that we're affiliated with, right? And I hope that it has. And if it hasn't, heck, if you're hearing this podcast, call us. We'll have come up with some ideas for businesses.
Sure.
But for us personally, I think we're going to come out of it better, faster, and stronger. I genuinely believe that. Disaster, whatever you want to call it, is the the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of invention. I think that restaurants that are doing things right now they wouldn't have done, obviously, 90 days ago.
Right.
They're doing it to survive.
Yep.
But then what's going to happen is it's going to mold and transition these businesses into things that consumers really do want and like.
Yeah.
There's a little pizzeria around us in Lehighton where I live. And so even though we've been eating at home a lot, one night we're just like, let's order in. So it was like a beautiful 65-degree day maybe a month or so ago. My wife orders some stuff. I go to this place, and I don't really know what to expect for the experience. The mask, the deal, how many people can be inside. This place cut a hole in the side of the wall of their business that goes straight into the kitchen, right? And I'm there, and I pay, and they give me my food. I don't have to wait in line. I did have a mask on for what it's worth, but I didn't have to go inside anything. And I'm staring into the kitchen. It was almost like a Pat's or a Geno's kind of experience down in Philly.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so I literally got the box, and I went home, and I said to my wife, like, I hope that they never get rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just cool. Like, you just walk up on this little box, you get your food, and you leave, and the food's awesome
There's
there.
some weird stuff that I'm not going to want to give up.
But I just really like the experience, and I hope they don't get rid of that.
Yeah. So Christina and I have been going through the same thing. I've been posting on Facebook, The Brick in Dover, Delaware. Go to The Brick in Dover, Delaware. I don't care if you're an hour away.
It does
is
look cool, man.
unbelievable. The owner's got to be from New York or New Jersey. You can just tell. It's just you go in there.
Yeah.
He's not real friendly. You know what I mean? And I've tried to make small talk and
Probably
be like,
part of the shtick.
right, it is. So I go in there. I'm like, you guys are killing it, man. You got to make it through this. Tipping the hell out of them when we get our carry out. But they put together this date night menu. It started. It was just a couple days a week, but you can tell it took off for him. So he does it 6 nights a week, and it's like, you get a side, you get 2 salads, you get a pizza and a dinner, and then you can get, for an extra $12, you get either an entire bottle of wine, you get like 6 craft beers, or you get these little adult drink pouches. So it's a mixed drink and like a Capri Sun pouch for an adult. And Christina said the same thing. She's like, this is going to suck when the brick starts charging normal prices and takes us away. But I bet he won't. He's probably, this date night thing has probably kept him going, breaking even or getting close to it over the past 2 months. And like you, I probably never would have ate there if I hadn't saw this online, caught it online, and said, this guy, bad location. I'm like, this guy's got to be getting hammered. We should go check this out. And the food has just been phenomenal.
Okay, so this brings me to the point, even going back to like the work at home thing that started this whole conversation, right? Like, what's different? What are we pivoting?
Right.
What are we doing different?
Right.
I've said since the beginning, and it's kind of neat to see some of this stuff come to fruition, so to speak, that anything you do inside your business right now is acceptable. I mean. Because people will be, they did it because of, the pandemic. Right. They did it, they had to. So, I mean, it goes all the way to, how you manage your business, different things that you're going to do. If you do have to pivot, right, and you do something different, i.e., look, I mean, you guys know that, just we weren't sure what our businesses were going to look like. Let me be just really point blank, brutally honest.
Sure did.
Yeah.
If I go back 75, well, I don't know how long ago it was, 70-ish or so days ago, I didn't know what my business was going to look like. I didn't know if I was going to be out of business.
Right, absolutely.
And so I think we all made, choices and did some things, just to make sure that we protected our families, our employees, ourselves.
Yeah.
And so you could do just about anything you want right now inside your business, and nobody's going to. If I had said to my employee, to all of our clients across the country, 70 days ago, we're closing both of our offices and we're going to work remotely from this point forward, I think it would have cost us a ton of business.
Yeah, right.
I think people would have said like, oh, why are they closing offices? Can they not afford them? Why are they doing this? It just would have brought up a whole lot of different questions.
Right.
And nobody questions anything you do now. So
now
if I go to a hybrid system and say, hey, we've got a 40% work at home policy. And I if any employees are listening to this, don't hold me to that, right? I mean, full disclosure, I haven't come up with any final decisions yet, but whatever we do, whatever we do is going to be acceptable, is my point.
I'm going to throw another awful phrase at you. It'll be the new normal, Troy.
It will be the new normal, yeah. Whenever we find out what the new normal is, we're going to pivot to the new normal.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, it's all
That's been eating at me for like 2 months now. I had to get that off my chest.
Well, you know what, though? Here's the weird thing, too. I hate that saying now because it's become so, I don't know, accepted, but I think there's some truth to that, though. I mean, that's the bad part.
Yeah, it's just a corny phrase.
It's a corny phrase.
It's pretty obvious. It makes everyone knows what you're talking about when you say it. So,
So, hey, we will do a concert, though, when it's socially acceptable.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I do miss music. A few of our favorite bands have been putting together live streamcast concerts. 30 Heads have been playing each one of their albums live acoustic every other Friday for like $15.
Send me that link, would you?
So cool. So next, I think they just did one this Friday. 2 weeks from this Friday is a really good album that should be really interesting acoustic. So I'll let you know. I'll send it over to you.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Great. Our Friday nights have consisted a little bit of, that stay at home, cook a meal, whatever you want to call it, and then, trying to stream some live music or something through our stereo, and just kind of, I love live music, so I've kind of learned that even streaming live music is still live music.
It's great. I love. So there's another adaptation.
There's another adaptation that I never really thought of because, when you look at all the changes in music, you go from all the way back to cassette tapes, 8 tracks to CDs to,
Right.
From albums to, and it's funny now that during this, I bought another record player and started the album collection.
You
I
have a
saw
lot of
yeah.
albums.
I saw.
Yeah, so but my point is that all of a sudden you go to whether or not it's Pandora or streaming live music through Google or whatever you do, and now all of a sudden it's like now it can stream live music too because a ton of artists have really started to do that.
Yeah.
So if you find that right channel and right outlet, you can stream some live music into your house, and you
Yeah.
go, wait a minute, there's a whole nother level.
Right.
Like,
And then the other takeaway from it, it's awesome and it's still not the same.
right.
So it comes back to what I was saying, where there is room for it and it's great and it's nice. It's a nice addition. You
Makes
know
you
what
want
I
to go
mean?
see them live.
Right.
Right.
It's just further promotes it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, now I need to get out there and get around human beings. It's like any interactions that you guys have had with people. Christina's parents came down, and it's Bill and Lisa. I love you guys so much. I know you're not listening, but I want to put that disclaimer on this before. But it's like the in-laws are coming over. So,
Right.
It's never a massively celebrated occasion, but it was just great to have them there.
Yeah.
It's just nice having people around, and you don't realize we're such pack creatures. We got a dog, through this, and one thing I've noticed just from having a puppy around. Dogs as a species are very similar in their instincts.
Was
to
that your
human
first dog?
beings.
This
I had dogs when I was a little.
No,
this
but I
is
mean,
our
right now,
first
as
family.
family,
dog.
it's
Yeah.
oh, that's cute. That's awesome.
I held out as long as I could, and I
Yeah.
figured this is just the time to do it. So Christina just kind of made it happen.
Look at this dog.
Do
man.
not let
Little
Christina
Mosby.
and Brittany talk. Don't let them talk.
Since she pushed for this so hard, she's been largely responsible for the training and getting up
Yeah.
and walking them in the morning. So trust me, we won't be getting another dog because she's got her hands full right now with 3
Yeah.
kids and a dog and master's classes online. So
Wow, no kidding.
school's another one, man. Where I've seen them make a lot of pivots.
Yeah, beautiful. It's awesome.
What kind of dog is this again? I'm
He's a
sorry.
red heeler, an Australian cattle dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you guys have
He's a herder.
Australian cattle?
No, but he herds me. He herds us. He
We
herds
buy
the
one,
kids.
yeah.
He's-
No kidding.
He already starts to do it. So he'll get real low and sneak up on you when you're playing, like you
Yeah.
can't see him in the grass.
Yeah.
And then he starts chasing you around and getting at your heels, trying
Ah.
to get you in line. So they start doing it right away. It's pretty cool.
Is that why you guys got it, to keep the kids in line?
If it comes to that, the kids, it's not going great with the
I'm just
kids.
kidding.
They're scared to death.
No
The
way.
baby, well, I mean, they're just,
Oh,
they don't want to get nipped at.
right.
Nora's great. So you know how it is with dogs. If you don't pay attention to it and you don't feed into it and you don't get excited and they don't think you're playing,
Yeah.
they'll just go about it. So him and Nora are best buddies. She's just like, no, doggy, and she'll just,
Right.
throw him to the side. And then my other 2 kids are just running around, jumping up on top of stuff so he can't get at their ankles. But they'll be fine in be about a month or so. It'll be okay.
Have we mentioned my new body, the blue twisted steel?
No, we haven't got to that.
We haven't
I mean,
mentioned
the
Blue
camera on
Twisted
I
Steel.
was saving that for the
Steel.
finale.
Did you
All right,
just
well.
flex for the camera?
I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to show off what I got. So,
The
one of
blue
those
steel.
things. Yes.
A lot of people could take that the wrong way if they Google blue
Blue
steel.
twisted steel. They could.
Don't Google it,
Blue
folks.
steel. Blue steel is just
Don't-
that's
don't
Zoolander's
Google it.
look.
Blue, huh?
That's Zoolander's look, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
I love
exactly.
it. Zoolander.
Yeah. So, all right. So I want to go further with the pivot. So we had a discussion. I don't know. Totally lost track of time, like the rest of the world here lately. So we had a discussion in the last couple of weeks about somewhere in the area of 10% of new franchise dealers, right?
Yeah, so I would
Are-
say my closest estimation,
Right.
and a full disclosure. I'm in advertising, so everything's disclaimed, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would say in our closest estimation going into pre-pandemic, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10% of dealers, franchised have a digital retailing online tool.
All right. A no-touch.
An actual
quote,
tool.
unquote.
Yeah, an actual no-touch you can buy, for the most part, again, in full disclaimer, be careful, that you can go through about all of the process to buy a car online.
Right. Is it appropriate to name some of those third-party platforms or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. I mean, there's some major players out there. You got, Goobagoo's Virtual Retail. You got,
How do you say that again? I keep saying I totally screw that.
yeah,
one
Goobagoo or
Goobagoo.
Listen, here's the funny thing about their name. If you ask them as a company, you can say Goobagoo or you can say Gubagoo. There is no wrong. Yeah, the cool so many, like half people were saying Goobagoo, half people saying Gubagoo, and they've kind of. I think if they're listening, they would tell you that you could say it either way. They don't care, and there's no right or wrong.
Right.
Because it's an acronym to begin with.
And out of those, if we can use rough math.
I mean, it stands for the good, the bad, the ugly, the awesome of web traffic. That's what.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
GUBA. Good, the bad, the ugly. I hope I got that right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So out of the, let's say 10% is the figures. So let's say 17,000 is the number of franchise new car dealers, give or take.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 1,700.
Again, it's a total guess. I didn't do.
But they're one of the quote unquote major players. But it was still with only what 400, 500, 600 clients, right?
Yeah, and I don't know the numbers exactly, but I don't know that it's more than that. But then
there was another one.
CarNow's buying now. Then you have Roadster. You've got Dealer Inspire's got one. Dealer Reprocess got one. I mean, there's a lot out there.
Right, and I read during the conversation that you and I had, I think I expressed to you that I had read just recently that some in the area, the experts are saying that somewhere in the area of 30% of the dealers are going to continue on with a quote-unquote no-touch delivery, doing things through DocuSign, not having to come to the store, or if you do...
Okay, so with that,
Carvana / there's a big slash, Paragon Honda delivery system.
Right.
That maybe 30% will stick with that post-COVID, if there is such a thing. That's probably an oxymoron.
Right.
So let's just say those figures.
During the new normal.
Yeah.
You missed our new normal conversation.
Oh, I hate that one.
You missed it.
So let's say that those figures are right. 30% will continue with some sort of touchless delivery.
Yeah.
Speeded up thing.
Personally, I think it'll be higher.
I think so too. Should be, in my opinion. Should be.
Yeah, but my thoughts on this subject are very different than most. I think.
Let's get into that. So just let me get this number out there. So that leaves, if all those numbers are true, the 10% that are signed up with platforms now doing that, and the 30% that are going to continue with this new normal thing, that leaves 20%, leaves 3,500 dealers available as an opportunity for dealer world to start with to do what with those people?
I think the most important thing is, and I'm gonna flip back to CRMs for a minute, right, and think of it that way.
Good.
How many of us know dealers that have had CRMs and they just didn't utilize it?
Yeah, it's just a necessary evil.
They've got
overwhelming majority.
Well, they just have a platform. It's extremely robust. I mean, most of the CRMs nowadays do things you almost can't comprehend, right? I mean, the platforms are amazing technologically.
Right.
But what happens, I think, in our business, is and I'll caveat this to say there's some dealers out there doing an amazing job. So there's certainly, right? I mean, they use every inch of that tool.
Yeah.
But I think as a general rule, many dealers have some serious platforms with CRMs, and they don't even send out emails from it. Right. I mean, and that's the basics, of using a CRM. So, as an agency, I can tell you, and we do it for our clients if they need the help or want the help, simply because sometimes you have this robust technology and you just don't have the manpower or the staff or the time to do it. So it's not even the dealer's fault.
Right.
It's simply the fact that they've got look, my company probably has technology I don't use, right? Just because you run out of time.
Yeah.
But we focus on saying to the dealer, because our platform as a company is to say we're going to spend your money as wisely as we possibly can. Being a flat fee agency, we don't really care if they spend money. We care if they sell a bunch of cars, and we help them sell a bunch of cars. We try to keep it very organic that way. Yep. So one of the first things we do is we ask a dealer, hey, who's your CRM? I.e., we've got Dealer Socket or Vin Solutions or whatever, Momentum or whoever it is. Mm-hmm. And then we say, hey, are you sending out emails? When's the last time you sent out some sort of an email to your, to your clients?
From your CRM.
Yeah, and you got to be careful, right? Getting blacklisted and all those other things. It's, nowadays anything you say could be, oh, well, you don't want to do that because. But at the end of the day, if you have a CRM, you could even export the files and get them into a MailChimp or a Constant
send
Contact.
from wherever you want.
So the point is basically, hey, what do you have for an asset? Right? And the asset is I've got 7,900 names, of people that bought cars and serviced cars from us. Well, okay, then what's in your unsold prospect file? That's another 20,000 names or whatever the case might be. Think about it, a 33% closing ratio, right? So if you've been collecting that data forever, what are you doing with that data, right?
Right.
So we typically spend quite a bit of time helping a dealer just make sure that they're using the platform and the tool that they have, properly.
Right.
And I'm not saying that dealers aren't doing it properly, all over the the place, but it is there is a certain segment of the population out there in the dealer community that has that robust CRM that's just not using it right. So my point of bringing that up is I feel like virtual retail is going to be, or digital retail, Goo calls it virtual retail, but digital retailing, online sales, whatever you want to call it, is going to create a similar problem. It's a very robust platform. And, most of them, they're all different to some extent, but, we've done a lot of research. I wouldn't call it certified, but we're trying to spend some time with Goo and Buy Now, CarNow's Buy Now platform, and just really make sure that we understand it because they are two major players. And again, if I'm not mentioning a name of one and somebody's listening, we want to learn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We want to learn it because if one of our dealers has your platform and your tool,
there you go.
We want to be able to help that dealer maximize that tool.
Right. And how would that take place without giving away trade secrets? Or can
no,
you
I don't
not
listen.
do that?
I don't care. We're a services company, so if another company wants to, jump in the pile and help dealers sell more cars, I'm totally cool with it. Like, it's really not a trade secret or some
right.
awesome revelation.
Right.
But I do think that if a dealer's got
where's the specific help needed? Where's the potential drop off from an awesome platform that's needed to the utilization of that platform to maximize the opportunities that it's providing?
And if I could preface, and I think you'd probably agree, a good step one would be just to get to those platforms, right?
Well,
Like over the past 30 days, a lot of people have been winging it. They're like, this is great. This is awesome. We're selling all these cars. We know we can do this. It's like, all right, well, slow down.
Well, that's the other thing that's going on right now is that, look, you got 100. Let me get back to your question in just 1 second because I have a very dialed in specific answer to it.
Good.
But to your point, right now, there's a lot of dealers right now selling a lot of cars.
A lot.
And look, you got 0% for like 1,000 years
with half the staff,
6 or 7 years until first payment. The bigger problem for the next 5 or 6 months will be inventory because they're selling out of what they currently have.
Right. And you got to flip from ventilators to cars here. Pretty
you
quick.
got to flip back to ventilators to cars. So but to your point, you got to kind of get them in that mode. So what we're trying to do with our clients and looking for people, other dealers that maybe are saying, hey, we want to get into this digital retail game. It's about picking a platform that your store is really comfortable with, that is a good fit for your store.
Right.
I truly don't believe any particular platform is right for every single store. Same thing with CRMs. Everybody's a little different. It could be the user interface. It could be, certain functions that it does.
Color scheme.
I mean, literally, it could be anything. So just pick one that you like, right? And then commit to it. Just, again, think about the parallel to a CRM, right?
Yeah.
Pick a CRM and use it.
That's what we had to do. We're doing this.
That's exactly right.
Pick a digital retail tool and use it.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is just say to a dealer, look, I mean, part of what they'll go through is trying to pick the right tool. So if we have a pretty deep understanding of the tools, we'll set up demos for a dealer and just make sure that they get the right tool. But once they have it, the next step, I think, is marketing and getting people actually to the tool. Right? So how do you get Mr. and Mrs. Buggins at home thinking about buying a car, to that dealer's website and into that portal that they start playing around with and seeing what their payments are and what their trade's worth. And then, from a lead generation standpoint, at what point are you asking for the squeeze, right? At what point are you asking for name, address, email, phone number so that you can contact that customer back? And I think that's step 2 really, right? Is let's get people to the website. Let's get people into that funnel. And then, Craig and Joe, for me, it's about now that you start to collect all that data and you start to have all those leads, at the end of the day, we love leads in the car business. I think it's going to be one of the biggest lead generators of any dealer's website if done properly.
Right.
If you drive quality traffic that really wants to engage with the digital retailing tool, they're going to get in there, they're going to drop their information, and I don't think the dealer is going to have a closing ratio of 80% of their people online buy a car and you deliver it to them like a pizza.
Right.
I just don't. I think people are going to get halfway through the process, drop out, 3/4 of the way through the process, drop out, 10% of the way through the process, drop out. I think they just want information.
Yeah.
Consumers simply want information.
Of course.
I don't know that they want, this at home. I'll give every dealer a really big freebie right now, right? I personally think get, at home delivery and anything to do with the word home, if that's in their marketing, this is me, and there could be people that disagree, but I'd get that out of your marketing. Nobody wants you to go to their house. I mean, literally, it's think about this. Right now, because here, Carvana's done a good job, and this is why Tier 3, dealers, or not Tier 3 dealers, but, at the Tier 3 level, from the manufacturer standpoint, meaning a dealership that actually, exists and has inventory and sells cars, you got ABC Motors in any town, right? You think about what Carvana's done, the millions and billion, whatever they've spent, in making you think, hey, it's easy to buy a car online. And then you get this flatbed truck that's white with our lettering and it's clean.
Yeah.
And, a professional driver with a clipboard, the whole deal. This is marketing 101.
Yeah.
That makes a consumer feel really super comfortable with the process.
Sure.
What's going to happen is when ABC Motors Anytown, all the consumer's going to think, if Mr. Dealer thinks I should have at-home delivery, the consumer's just going to think of, and it's unfortunate, we've done it to ourselves over 30 years, right, the car business. They're going to think of, Johnny Salesman showing up at their house with a half-untucked shirt. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Pressuring them into an upsell of some kind with the targets.
Who wants the car sales guy to come to your house on Saturday when you're barbecuing to deliver your car? They don't.
Not so much.
I genuinely believe in all of my heart that dealers at that level, the Tier 3 level, you're not really you shouldn't have to compete against Carvana at that level. You should simply just offer customers, the ability to options. Yeah, that's the word. We're all about options. We just want to set up and help a dealer pick the right tool, put it on their website, make it prevalent, drive traffic to it, help them convert it, help them manage the traffic, right? Because they may be understaffed.
Right.
Make sure they're using all the tools. Are we doing the push notifications, and are we sending out deal structures to unsold prospects? And are we really re-engaging customers once we have them?
Right.
So, we put together a whole task force at Dealer World to say, you guys are going to learn these tools like the back of your hands, and you're going to understand them. And what we think we understand is that it is not about doing the deal 100% online and delivering a car like it's a pizza. That's not what we're promoting. What we're promoting is options, Joe. Let's set up your website and help the dealer do it right so they stick with it, right? And let's have a liaison inside the dealership. So if Joe owns a car dealership and I go to him and we're going to help him, Joe, you got to give me somebody in your arsenal, right? In your employment that you have at the dealership that we can work with hand in hand and teach them and make sure that we leave you stronger.
Yeah.
So that's not like we're just doing it for you, but we're teaching the long-term process of that.
Yeah. Well, that's really important because of turnover, obviously.
Right.
We don't want all that good work to stop when a person leaves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got to be constant and consistent.
Well, you just have to tell a customer that they can get to your website.
Yeah.
And if they want to start their deal online, they can start it online.
Yeah.
They can get a trade appraisal. They can get payments. They can configure a lease. They can kind of work a deal, right?
Yeah.
But if they want to finish it in store, they can drop that and go to the store.
Yeah.
It's
I
called Omnichannel, right? It's simple. Even if I'm in the store, I could leave, and then after I leave, you could push me the deal, and then I could play with it at home and go, well, maybe if I put down 2,000, not 3,000. Maybe if I switch to the SL, not the SX.
Right.
Whatever the case might be.
Right.
Yeah. When I talked about my recent purchase on here, I think it was on here. Good Lord. It's like a time warp.
that was a private
That's right. I was
video.
at home. That's right. I did a video at home.
Awesome.
And I've talked about how great the Vvirtual group was with my purchase. But they said, you can come in. I mean, if you set a time, you can go ahead and come in if you want to look at it. I'm like, no, I'm good. I know Explorers.
Yeah,
you can just bring it to me. So they brought it
Interesting. You are the anomaly, quite frankly, of all the dealers that we talk to. Anybody that's done just about any kind of movement towards this kind of, let's do a webinar, right? Like I've got a dealership that does Zoom meetings with customers, and they're just like, hey, let's hop on a Zoom and we'll talk face to face. And customers are just like, can I just come in?
Right.
I just want to come in.
For
Can
sure.
I just come in?
That's making it harder again.
Well, no, but here's the kicker. I don't think it is making it harder. I think it's making it more accessible to a customer because
if they want to do
listen, when I mention to a dealer, let us help you set up your digital retailing properly.
Right.
Well, I don't think it matters. No, everybody just wants to come in. Like, no, look, not everybody does. This isn't about all of a sudden overnight you're going to sell 100 more cars online, like I keep saying, and deliver it like a pizza. What it means is someone like Joe Lockard is going to go online. He's going to find the Explorer he wants. He doesn't need to come in. He's done his research, and he wants to do the deal online.
Right.
My wife wants to do the deal online.
Right.
So if that number right now is 12% or it's 25%, it's not 100%. We know that for dang sure, right? It's not 100%.
Matter. It doesn't have to be.
But what it is making sure you don't alienate the consumer that wants to do most, if not all, of their deal online, and let them so that you do 12 more cars a month than you would have without having that as an option.
Absolutely.
It's incremental business. I don't think it's all or nothing.
Right.
It's incremental business.
Right.
Sure.
Part of our pivot was we were forced to go to remote recruiting.
Right.
We were forced to do it, which was good. And it's something Joe said probably should have done 2 years ago, make it easier.
Right.
Right. And we did it. It's very simple, very successful, cost a dealer less money. I mean, like zero downside to it. Like zero downside.
Yeah.
and we've had multiple clients since then say, no, I don't want to do that. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, again, see, here's the kicker. You're going to have clients that want to do it old school, we say, right? Because that's what's going to happen. The new normal is going to create old school.
Right.
So, so they're going to say, well, I just want your guy to come in and do it like we've always done it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have people say, no, I love this online thing.
Right.
I think you as a business, just like a dealer, has to look at it and say, we have to offer both.
Correct.
And then the aggregate of the two is that you do more business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And I am an anomaly. I've talked about it before.
Yeah.
The easiest sale in the world is car guys because I
yeah.
already know what they can and can't actually do. I'm not going to beat them up and sit there and come up with asinine offers that just don't exist. Finance was easy. I was like, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
This-
No, I'm with you.
Let's talk about, if you don't mind, talk about your pivot into PermaSafe.
Yeah.
And then how you got us involved in it.
Sure.
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a good product. It's a really good product, and I'm glad that I, thought of you guys.
Yeah.
Again,
The
if you don't,
timing is so weird.
Can I be really blunt? Are you going to be mad if I,
Nope.
I just thought of you guys. You guys know how much I care about you and love you as human beings and friends, and I went back and I said it. I didn't know what my business was going to look like at all.
Right.
I think if you and I go back 70 days ago, or however long
Bizarre
ago that
times,
was,
man. Some of those
bizarre times.
calls. It was very strange.
And I got to thinking, maybe dealerships aren't going to be hiring salespeople right now during this time.
Yeah.
And
that came true.
Well, and I'm just saying, it's probably not the best business thing to say, right? But It was true. I wasn't sure what my business was going to look like, and as much as I care about and love you guys, I thought, my God, I don't know if they know what their business is going to look like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I found a very relevant product, happened
Right.
to land in my lap thanks
Right.
to Parker.
Right.
Yeah, let's. Can we talk about Parker real
Yeah,
quick?
let's do.
I hope
give
he doesn't
him a
mind. Yeah,
shout-out,
Parker's
man.
awesome.
I plug Parker as much as I possibly
Yeah,
can
Parker.
to help
Hey,
him.
Jason Gerner.
Parker Yocum,
Parker's
everybody. Superior F&I Solutions. If your dealership in Western PA, Western New York, Northeast Ohio, look him up. Find Parker Yocum, Yochim, Superior F&I Solutions.
I just tagged him in this.
One of I'm. It's amazing. You
He's
talk
a
about
good human being,
I was going to
isn't he?
say we just kind of find each other.
Yeah.
And you know,
He's one of us.
You kept saying Parker. You talk about Parker. You're like, well, this came from Parker. This is all from Parker. And so we get to talking, and it's like, we second phone call. We talked for like 45 minutes. He's a Brown season ticket holder,
That's
and
so
I mean,
weird.
it's to the point with Parker where I haven't talked to him in a while. Parker, I'm sorry if you're listening. So I went like a week or so because we were talking very frequently at the beginning. And
Last time
things
I
were
talked to him, I said
chaotic.
we miss each other because we did the same thing.
Yeah, he got mad. He's like, did we break up? Are you mad at me? I said, dude, I'm just been so busy.
Yeah.
But just an exceptional person.
He's
so.
a really cool guy, and I can't thank him enough. You know, he called me, and I think maybe was thinking of the same thing. And
Yeah.
it's funny because he started with me a little pre-COVID, right? He called and said, "Hey, but it wasn't pre-COVID. It was very, very early stages."
Yeah,
I
well,
remember, yeah.
Early February.
Right.
maybe?
It was like
It was February.
It was like people were starting to talk about it, but no businesses were
Yeah.
shut down or anything.
No, I don't
You
think
know,
there
the
were
World
any
Health
deaths.
Meter numbers were like 3 people were affected.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Right.
very, very pre.
Yeah.
But he said, "Hey, I don't know if this is of any interest to you. Your dealers would have any interest." And it's funny, me being an ad agency and a performance agency to help dealers sell more cars, it really wasn't in my lane,
Right.
at all.
Ours either.
But I kind of said to him, I think it's pretty relevant, and I think I've always said for me it's about helping dealers that need help. It's and if
Right.
maybe right now it's going to be
Right.
more than that, and they
Right.
need another product, it might make sense.
Right.
So I listened to him, and then I decided to get involved, and it's been great for us.
Right.
I mean, it's another one of those things that I don't think dealers would have really accepted, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
Had
Oh,
it,
heck no.
They would have been like, "Why
Oh,
are
yeah.
you doing that?"
Yeah. Well, I wanted
but-
to talk about that. What do you guys think about the dealer's perception of us getting into this at the timing that we got into it?
Well, look, man,
it seems opportunistic on our part. Or if I was a dealer, I'd go, "Oh, these guys just took advantage of a absolutely horrible worldwide
Oh
pandemic."
boy, I don't think so. I
No,
mean,
well, that's-
You don't think so?
I get ahead of it. And
if they do, I would be look. And this is I've gotten. Sorry to interrupt you
You're
there,
all right.
but this I'm very passionate about because I did think about that for a split second, Craig.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah.
For a split second, I
Same
thought
here.
about it because you guys have known me for a long time. I'm not saying I'm
Right.
the world's best guy on the planet, but
Right.
I live by a little bit of a code. I always say to my kids, like, if it's the right thing to do, then do it.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
I didn't feel this was opportunistic at all. I
Right.
truly felt like it was a relevant, timely
Right.
product.
Right.
I did my due diligence.
Right.
The product was great.
Right.
And I thought, if anybody has anything to say about that,
Right.
they don't know me at all.
Yeah, and
Well,
and one of the keys of that, we got a little bit stupid lucky with picking the very best product.
Yeah, by the way, I would agree. Parker did that. I keep saying, we didn't get lucky. Parker gave us
Yeah, right.
Because we could have fallen into some
Right.
crap
So,
that's being
well,
sold out
and that's
there.
what I was
so.
going to say. So that's how I preface all of my calls when I'm talking to a client. I explain the back. I just tell them the backstory of why
Right.
we start because
Yeah.
when you come into any F&I product, which is what this is, you have to educate them on how to sell it too. So they're facing
Correct.
the same situation. So now at the
Right.
store level, it's like, is it uncomfortable for them? So you have to get them comfortable. You're not taking advantage of a situation either. You're fulfilling a need the same way
Right.
that we were trying to fulfill a
Right.
need for you,
Right.
where you might need to pick up a few dollars in F&I. Well, here's something that's obviously very timely,
Right.
very important. You need to provide some peace of mind for
Right.
your customers so
Right.
they want to come in your store,
Yeah.
so they want to buy cars.
Right.
So it was kind of just an all-around win. But it's got to be challenging for Jay as well, Jay Leiter, the CEO of the company, because like you said, they've been around for 3 years. And all of a sudden, they got this hot product. It's like, no, we've been selling this for 3 years to dealerships.
He had to do a major pivot.
Yeah.
Major
I
pivot.
mean, they've been doing
Well, when
this
you have
for-
that kind of growth.
This product, PermaSafe, when things normalize a little bit, F&I departments across the country are going to go, oh, wow.
Well, here's the other thing, too. For me, when you ask about the thought process, it's a good marketing tool, too, right? I'm a marketing agency.
You bet.
So I did think if I would like our dealers to have it,
Yes.
you know, and or anything that is remotely close to it, which I don't know that there is.
Right.
But, you know, and to be fair to our dealers, it's not about you got to buy PermaSafe from me. It's about, look, do you have a way to, you know, hospital grade disinfectant? Do you have a way to keep your cars, you know, sanitized, disinfected, and I'll be careful, right? Disclaimer wise, I don't want to say anything wrong about the product because,
Yeah, right.
But you know, is there a way, you know, that you can get your consumers in your market to feel more comfortable about visiting your dealership, whether or not it's like fogging the showroom or the service waiting area, just as you did here at the studio just now, or is it that the car is just safer to take a demonstration drive in because it's been treated? You know, at that level, I think it's a marketing play as well.
Absolutely, that's the other side.
But a marketing play that's not, you know, coming from left field or done disingenuously.
Right.
I think it's important. It's almost like it's ridiculously relevant and almost needed at this point. It's almost a marketing play not to do it.
Right.
Yeah. That's probably true.
You know what I mean? In a wrong way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'll call Evan when I get out of here, Jason.
Is Jason listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason.
Yep. Yep.
Hope all's well.
We've got a lot of people on
It
there
is.
right
He's
now.
hiring.
He is.
So are we.
Yep.
Yeah, so are we.
So are we, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting few
Yeah.
months, but yeah, no, it's been adjustment. We can stop saying pivot. We can just come up with our own word. We don't have to say pivot, guys.
We don't have to.
We're three very intelligent people.
Yeah.
I think we can come up with a synonym here to make it
I'm going to use thesaurus
applicable.
right now.
Right, there you go. This,
adjustment.
Yeah.
All I ever think of, and man, I like Friends more than I realize. I've had this conversation before. I used to be like scared to say that I like Friends as much. But there's the episode where they're moving a couch into somebody's apartment, and Ross sitting there going, "Pivot, pivot, pivot."
I
That's all I can
remember
think
that.
of.
I think
Okay,
I
here we
remember
go.
that.
Rotate, turn, revolve, spin, swivel, twirl, whirl, wheel, oscillate.
No,
None of them really work.
not at all.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No.
Thesaurus let us down. Listen, we're going to continue
Yeah.
to pivot.
Yeah. Change.
Adapt.
Adjust.
Adapt.
Adapt is better.
Let's go with adapt.
Adapt is better, I think.
Well, I think you got to adapt, and then I also personally think, and you know, like you said, Jason's hiring, and we're hiring. You got to adapt, and then you got to put the pedal down, right?
Yeah, I mean, hell,
I think
How about that resume you got the other day? At the bottom of the resume, it was an example resume.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that was
And
unfortunate.
I got crap
Market
for
for-
posting that too. You know, if you read the comments, I took some crap, and you know, a lot of people chiming in with what they thought I should do.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm pretty clear on my convictions of this. I really personally feel that there's 40 million people unemployed.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that number is, it's 15% unemployed.
it's a lot.
If you're gonna send in your resume and apply for a job right now,
Yeah.
you should cross your T's and dot your I's.
Pretty much.
You know, when you think about when I wrote Turbocharge Your Life, I used to say that I told the story a million times about the guy that didn't get the job, went home, and mom says, "Oh, it's okay, honey. They don't know what they're missing." And the wife said, "You'll get them next time." You know, no, that's crazy. Don't coddle people. You screwed up. You didn't get the job.
Right.
Now you need a job more than ever. You just applied for a job. Be careful.
Right. Well,
And I hold myself to that standard. If I screw up, I'm going to tell you, I freaking screwed up. I deserve to lose.
Right. Couple things. We've obviously learned that lesson a couple times because we have seen some freaking resumes.
You've seen some resumes, haven't you?
And
How
some
many?
conversations.
Well, Danielle wrote you back. One of these days, I'm going to show you some.
Oh,
of
God,
mine.
I'd love to see that.
So
Danielle,
we have-
don't do that.
So we have to be careful because the girls will send stuff, or Danielle and Shelly, our recruiters, will send stuff to us because you put it out there, and yeah, everyone's so sensitive. They're like, "Oh, give them a chance." It's like, all right, dude, we've been doing this for a long time. We've given a million people a million different chances. So, but anyway,
Well,
we've been
the
through
guy
that.
inside me wants to give him a chance.
Yeah.
You know, because
I
I'm just,
know.
you just want to say maybe he just screwed up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
But I feel like I'm changing a little bit, whether or not it's age or pandemic
Right.
or just
Right.
how I have to work, and you guys know, and so do you guys.
Yeah, well, that oops.
I have to work so hard.
That oops could cost you a customer.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, and that's unacceptable
Yeah. So
at every level.
But to the other point about all the people unemployed and more to choose from and stop coddling people. So I've had a lot of dealers ask us, well, what are you seeing? What's going on out there? I can't get people to come back. And I've been very frank about it. I've been very frank about it. I was on Frank's show. That was pretty good.
I've been frank about
Excellent.
I was on Lopes Live.
You should get more frank.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on with Katie Mayers. I was on
Another good guy like Frank.
Yeah, Frank's great. And I was on with Josh Mitchell, and it kept coming up. And I said, if those people only feel that they're worth that $900 a week and they want to sit at home through the end of July, that's cool. They can go ahead and sit at home.
Yeah.
Those aren't your people. So
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
cares? If we used to have 30 people for you to choose from, and half of them were those people, but they were hiding and you didn't know it before, we've eliminated those people now. So we don't have to
Right.
worry about that crap anymore. So if you
Right.
have fewer people to choose from, but they're people that actually want to get off their ass and work right now and feel like they're worth more than
Right.
$40,000 or $50,000.
How relevant-
Quality's to the roof.
How
good.
relevant is that to the conversation we just said about how unemployment is just turned people that were on the edge of being criminal to criminal.
To full on, hey, I can
Yes.
get paid to.
When you think about it, it's the same thing. I'm unemployed. I get
Right.
all this money. I don't want to apply for a job, and
Yeah.
Have at it,
not
man.
your people anyways.
Good luck. We'll see you in 2 months.
Right. Actually, they're talking about continuing it to January.
Hey, you know what though?
The 600.
Here's an interview question that I think and I know that you have a list of exact interview questions, but I think as everything, it has to be modified, right? I remember back in 08, 09 when the crisis hit and I was managing stores at that time, one of our questions when we look at a gap in the resume, we would simply say, why weren't you working? I was on unemployment and I was collecting enough that I didn't, especially managers, right?
Bad answer.
I got guys coming in saying, and I remember it was like in droves. Guys coming in, once their unemployment was running out and applying for jobs. And I'd say, well, you haven't worked in like a year and a half. Like, what? So, right? So tell me about that. Oh, well, I was on unemployment. And I look at them and go, look, our interview's over.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they'd say, why? And I'd say, because you milked the system. And it may not be the most popular thing. I'll probably get some crap for saying this.
Well-
but I would look at him and say, you milked the system to the point of needing a job again.
Right.
And so here you are sitting in front of me telling me you're the most aggressive guy. You'll do whatever it takes. You'll work hard. You got great morals, great ethics, great this, great that. You're wonderful. But you didn't work for the last year and a half because you didn't have to. So where's the drive and the energy and the excitement and the enthusiasm and the passion that you're telling me you have?
And the value, the self-worth. I mean, and that's taking it to extreme. I'm just talking about salespeople. I'm not even talking about
We're going to get
management.
picked on for this. We just walked into the fire.
Well, I mean, come on. So now you're talking about mid-level management. What? How much do you really max out on unemployment? So not even 50% of what you earned before.
Right.
So that was good enough for you. So that's
Right.
good enough. Are you really going to hire someone that
As a
ever
man-
looked at themselves and said, "This is good enough"?
As a manager, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's my point. We
Yeah.
had people applying for management
Because
positions.
in Jersey, you got people collecting $1,300 net a week.
Right. No, I know. It's different right now, but even just
Yeah.
I think back then, because they didn't have that extra 600. Back then, it was like the max was like 550
that's
or
what I'm
600.
saying. That's insane. So
Yeah.
that was enough. So
Right.
because you said
Applying
that,
for a $100,000 a year
Right.
job,
it's like what? So it's funny. What came to mind is
and I won't take less.
Yeah, is a good friend of mine who is a top-notch dealer, principal, GM. If anybody is interested in hiring one of the best GMs, dealers in the business, please reach out to me and I will get you in touch with him. He cut a full live video he did with a local TV personality.
Nice.
He's an exceptional human being. We've become friends. So he has been hanging out for a couple months just because he just can. So
Right.
it was different. I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
well, I was
different
in a
when you
good
can.
situation, and he's like,
Yeah.
I prepared for this,
Yeah.
and it just
This
kind of
guy's
worked
an
out this way.
all-star.
Absolutely.
Well, wait a minute though. He hasn't exactly been hanging out then, right? He's been
No.
cutting videos and thinking about his next
He's-
job
he's
and
been
helping
helping-
himself to get the best job.
He's been helping me with
Yes.
PermaSafe. He's been sending. He's like, hey, how about
Yeah.
this idea for PermaSafe?
That's
Just an
awesome.
awesome
Yeah.
human being.
Like
That's different.
top notch.
That's
Yeah.
different.
Right.
So we're going to cut you out of here in a little bit. Not to over tease. However, I'm going to tease a little bit. over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks maximum,
Yeah.
you're going to see some announcements between AutoMax Recruiting and Dealer World that are going to be pretty interesting, that are going to help affect change, positive change in the automobile industry, that's going to help more dealers sell more cars more effectively at higher profits.
That's our mission statement.
Yes. And it's going to be pretty interesting. And this is no bullshit. You guys will probably come out with a press release. Some of the things we're talking about doing, if we do all of it, probably come out with a press release.
Some of that stuff's pretty press release worthy.
You bet. Once again, publicly, I want to tell you how much I respect you. Care about you as a person. I truly love you as a man, as a human. The way that you run your life, the way you run your business is fantastic.
Thanks.
By
the way, it's very reciprocal. I'll get to that in a sec.
Right. And even though I am, in fact, the youngest man in the car business, and you know, with your senility moment this morning, which
it's just way out of my routine.
I told Joe I started writing down some of the shit that you and I talk about because of your forgetfulness. So I started writing some of this stuff down. So you can't deny it later. So, but I appreciate you so much. I appreciate that a year ago that you took the chance to come down here. Before that, you decided to throw some money at this and be a sponsor of the podcast. I appreciated that. Totally blind faith on your part. I appreciate the time that you spent here doing that. Everything about you. Back to brain food,
Oh, gosh. Isn't that where it started, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy when you think about it.
It is.
Well, I always say, if I can interrupt you there for a second, and with all the mushy stuff, people always ask me. Well, I wouldn't say people always ask me. When people ask me, and when I think about the success Dealer World's had and what my life has looked like the last 10 years, I look at the butterfly effect, the least common denominator. I backtrack things to its origin, because I feel like when you do that,
I can remember a night at NADA.
Yeah,
at dinner.
That story is amazing. And when you think about those things, I think about them because I want to make sure I stay that way. I want that next story. I train people and say, hey, if you want to make things happen, you got to make things happen. Mm-hmm. But like sitting down and writing brain food. And I'll never forget you reaching out to me saying, hey, do you mind if I send this out to all my trainers? I think it's just great, content. Yeah. This is way back before people were doing lives on Facebook, right?
Yeah. We ended up putting that blog, the link to that blog on one of our archaic initial websites.
Crazy. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you had a link to the blog. Yeah. And, but I remember saying to you, hey, you know what? I'm just a guy. I had no employees at that time. It was just me. I was just starting out. It was back when I was completely broke. I'm sitting in my 2-bedroom apartment, and you respected my content. And, you started to really buy behind me and my company and what I was doing. And even though I had no employees, you gave me the opportunity that led to Vegas and hey, everybody, come sit down. And, the rest is history there. Right. And all of those things, I can't tell you how many times I think of something good in my life, and when I backtrack it, like I just talked about, it comes down to meeting Craig Lockard. So I'm very vocal about how much I love you as well. Gotten to know Joe extremely well, which I back in those days didn't even. Yeah, I mean it's your family is incredible. The relationship is just so organic in nature. I don't think you've ever really asked me of anything, and I don't think you've ever asked me of anything.
No.
It's just simply.
No, I do want to be around the campfire at the Spring Estate.
Yeah,
so.
Well, we don't call it the estate. I mean, it's just it's a humble abode, but I call it the trail because
spring retreat.
Well, the trail because when we looked at the house, it was meant to be.
Do we have 4-wheelers there?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 4-wheelers side by sides.
Need 2 horses.
We don't have horses right down the street. Well, I basically live on a horse farm. I just don't have horses.
This place is incredible,
So,
man.
I mean, right down the street.
But I want to. It's Cook's Forest type.
Cool.
He's got a. Well, we'll talk about it off air, but he's got some plans that are freaking awesome. It's been a dream of mine for a very long time. He's putting into practice.
Cool. But I love the. I'm big on the butterfly effect stuff. Cause and
I'm
effect.
telling you, everything
So
goes back to
important,
Craig.
Joe.
What it does is, so you hit gratitude, you
Yeah.
stay in the moment,
Yeah.
and it helps you out with shitty stuff that's happening because you have no idea. So I'll trace back to meeting my wife, and I think of all the bizarre shit that happened to me that brought me out to New Jersey,
Right.
and even put me at that restaurant bar to meet
At
my
that
wife
place at that time.
And it's like awful things happen to me in my life to bring me to that moment, and it just. It's
Well,
like
you and I got those stories. Awful things happened to me to put me in some
Right.
moments as well.
Right.
And-
It's weird.
but what happened to me with the butterfly effect was I kept doing it in business, right? And I'd go, damn, that's another Craig Lockhart
That's
moment.
funny.
Like, dang, Craig again. Dang, that goes back to Craig. Dang, that goes back to Craig. Dang, that goes back to Craig. And, I don't even know that you knew at the time what you were doing for me. So, when I say it, I genuinely love you and everything that you've ever done to support me and my company and my family. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you.
Yes.
Just
Same
simple.
here, man.
Just simple. I have the life I have because of all those moments that I think that you helped me get to.
Well,
They always say you can only provide opportunity. It's what you do with the opportunity. But you definitely provided me with a bunch of opportunity. And you didn't even know it, and you didn't ask anybody to do it. It was just about presence. That's the coolest part. You've never introduced me to somebody and really said, hey, you got to do business with Troy.
No.
Like, never. It's not that way.
Right.
It's simply just about being around each other
yeah.
and having it be so
Yeah.
organic, like you just said with Parker.
Right.
I'm
Good
so
point.
I'm surrounded by so many good people, like really good people.
Yeah.
Even our clients. I look at our clients and I go, they're not really typical car dealers. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I don't.
interesting. You're right,
I
'cause,
don't. I
some
don't
are
want to. I
mutual.
don't want anybody to pick that apart and go, "Who you calling typical car dealer?" It's not what I mean. I just there is a sense of the type of client that we attract
Right.
that just happens to be kind of like what I like and what I do and who I like to be around. And a lot of people I would eat dinner at their houses and. That kind of thing. And so, I'll backtrack and say that was probably the worst thing I could ever say, right? Typical. But, I mean, you go back to the 80s when we started in the car business. I think we've all been on a track trying to change that paradigm. And, from our relationship to even our clients and even vendors that I'm friends with, it's just an amazing thing to have people in our lives like that.
But even that's not coincidental. So there's a word for it from a Kurt Vonnegut book. It's another religion or another culture has an actual word for that.
Celestine.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, so you could talk about the gift, the laws of attraction,
Right,
Celestine prophecy, but there's another foreign culture or religion, I forget, has an actual word for it, of the people that you find yourself surrounded with in your life that almost seems coincidental, but it's not coincidental. It's for a reason. You're attracting like-minded, similar people, and so it's not luck. So when you're talking about Parker or you're talking about we got lucky, it's fortunate, but it's not luck because that's what you're putting out there, and what you put out there is what you always, most of the time, get back.
Yeah. And I think the word I was searching for there was stereotype, right?
Yeah.
The
Rather
stereotype.
than typical,
Yeah. I mean, because it's, and by the way, I think
totally different things.
For what it's worth, I also think the business has changed a ton, and I think that stereotype is changing for what it's worth.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I genuinely think that dealers' reputations are getting far better. Google reviews, everything that have forced it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt.
I think, and which I'm glad that I lived through, being in the car business for 30 years. I'm glad to have seen that paradigm shift.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what else you got there, Mr. Craig?
You gotta go.
I gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta go.
I hope that you guys have a awesome rest of your day. Thanks for having me and all that stuff. And that was kind of cool to watch you fog and permasafe this place. Very cool.
It was fun to do.
Yeah, I smell nothing.
No,
it's
right.
Feel nothing.
Right.
It's it's not a smell. It's like a clean. You can kind of feel it. You know it's been done.
Yeah,
when you're in the room with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's odorless. There's it's not lemony or anything like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys, my headphones are coming off. I love you.
All right, listen, business stuff, on-air business stuff, since I probably won't talk to you the rest of the day.
Yes, sir.
text me and let me know when we're talking about that this week.
Yeah, whenever.
No.
I'll text you.
It's whenever you're available.
Yeah, I got
Just
you.
tell me.
I know.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks a ton.
All right, brother.
I appreciate
All right.
the water, all the good stuff.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
See you later.
The
Be
podcast
safe.
continues. Hang on, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. But
Bye-bye.
all right, cool. Thank you, brother.
See
Be
you.
careful driving
Do
home.
you
Soon.
can you fill some air if I use the restroom before
Yeah.
we dig in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll set this thing up. So, what's been happening here lately, unless you've been stuck in a cave, which some of us have, kind of, is pretty interesting. What does Brendan want to do, Joanna? Oh, got it. Okay. My best pal Brendan is listening to the podcast right now and watching live, and he is the most awesome little boy that I know. He's going to be 6 next month, and he is terrific. He did really, 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 really well in school. He had a big test the other day, and I'm really proud of him. He goes to Atlanta Christian School. He's a godly young man, and I couldn't be prouder of him. We have fun together. We play together. We were in the pool the other day together, and he's awesome. And Brendan, I love you, and you're my best pal, dude. So, and I will catch you later. Take good care of Dixie. Okay? I love you, pal. I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, so here's what's up next. So there's been a few things going on. Craig. So a couple things that I want to discuss that I've really not discussed socially. So I'm going to go a little bit all over the place here. We're going to be talking about George Floyd. I want to talk about something that has not been talked about on social media, if you can imagine that, and that's dealer liability. And that's a very, very broad stroke, but I'm going to be talking about that here in a little bit, and with my son Joe, and some things to watch out for and some things to be careful with, and kind of our take on the thing. I think, and this is tricky because you got two white guys talking about a situation that we that we actually in real everyday life don't know much about, being two white guys. So obviously what happened, I don't need to recap this whole darn thing. Man was murdered in Minnesota several days ago by a police officer. Pretty telling video. Could look at it a lot of different angles, and that's one that did not lie, that particular video. Was taken into custody, I believe, 4 days later, charged with murder. Since that, originally peaceful protests were started. What has continued to happen are daylight peaceful protests for the most part. And what has basically happened is nighttime riots, destruction, I would say internal terrorism. So there's been a lot of discussion here. Here's where I'm going to start with this thing. And I wrote something about this the other day. I put on Instagram, put on Twitter, put on LinkedIn. Whatever. Put on Facebook. Took a little crap from it. In my opinion, we're all being played. And I think we're being played big time. We're being played by the quote-unquote mainstream media. We're being played by social media for sure. We are out without a doubt being played by Twitter. We're being played by Facebook. We're being played by lesser case, I think, Instagram, but we are definitely being played by Facebook and Twitter. Definitely being played. With the free speech issue, the dramatic left-leaning decisions that are being made on our behalf, the narratives that Main Street media has pushed us in. You know, it's been obviously very interesting since what the horrible thing that happened, the horrible murder of George Floyd. What's happened is COVID's taken a completely big switch here over the last few days. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but did I write that figure down? Yesterday in the United States, there were 602 deaths to COVID-19. That got very little press.
No kidding?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
602.
No way.
Yeah. In Atlantic County, which consists of 271,000 people, COVID tally to date, 2,214 cases, 159 deaths, 0 deaths in the last 2 days
No way.
in Atlantic County.
Get out.
Yep.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
No, you would not.
Oh, we could talk about that. We could expand on that further. I want to go all the way back. I want to start at the beginning because
Shoot.
something I've seen on social media, and I think it's very important and it's very relevant, and everyone has a responsibility to think for themselves. So it's fine to sit here and blame the media and blame social media and blame this and blame that. We're all big boys and girls. We can all think for ourselves. We can all draw our own conclusions. We can all choose to post and comment and say and share the things that we want to. I'm trying not to get too emotional here today, but it's tough. This is an emotional subject. I saw some absolutely amazing, beautiful things happen over the past few days. And I've seen some people try to share that stuff and try to get it out there. And I know it's hard. It's kind of like, and this is where the media starts with this stuff, where death, destruction, and violence are exciting and it gets ratings. And a lot of the other stuff, peace and love, is boring. That doesn't tend to get ratings, and it's unfortunate. But, I guess my point is to go all the way back. We are two white men sitting here talking about something that we don't know anything about, and I've always struggled with that, and I've done my best in the past few years of my life. Just to go back to who I am. I was raised in a 99% white community. I was fortunate in that I played a ton of sports, and I was the only white kid on my basketball team. I would say 90% of the time, until I started playing, in Catholic leagues.
Yeah.
But even then, I'd go to the summer to play, in the more competitive leagues.
Right.
And, it'd still be against mainly black kids. And it was the only way I got better. But I was fortunate enough to form some good friendships and relationships. But still, it's nothing. It's no substitute for living someone else's life.
Right.
And then you start to get old and you start to hear some of the things. And as a white person, it absolutely blows your frickin' mind to hear some of the shit that happens. And it's just...
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing. It's impossible when you see stuff on social media of I don't see color. That one bothers me. I meant to talk about it when Troy was here. This goes along with COVID, and I want to catch both of these things today. But like we're all in it together. We're not all in it together.
No. Something that's nice that does come out of this, though, you mentioned I don't see color. I think what's hard for white people, and it's been awesome to see minorities come out and kind of encourage the conversation and let us know, hey, it's okay. We can talk about this stuff now, because a lot of times we don't know what we're allowed to talk about. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to ask questions I'm not supposed to ask. And to hear, hey, we appreciate you just trying and making an effort to understand and ask these questions, that made me feel a little better of okay, well, how can I help on a micro level? Because at the end of the day, I think that's all any of us can do is help on a micro level.
Right.
You know, and I see a lot of people talking about that. You know, it's the worst comments I see are, it's too far gone. There's nothing we can do. It's too messed up. Everything's so effed up. There's nothing you could do. Okay, well, yeah, you're not going to go out there and overturn the government and police departments and reorder the whole thing. But, you know, you see some police officers taking the first step. And if you take the first step within your own family and raise your kids the right way and start there. Sorry. Bring kids into it and I get upset.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
You're right, though.
It's just hard. Like I said, you start talking to people that, you know, you love and respect, and you hear some of the things that they've gone through in their life. And it's impossible to relate, and it's just heartbreaking that that stuff goes on.
Well, I count, you know, Cliff, my neighbor, second house down, him and I had a pretty long conversation this morning based on me shutting up and listening. You know, I said, dude, teach me, because I'm without a clue here. And here's a very successful family living in a predominantly white neighborhood,
right?
You know, well, we're pretty diverse, but it's there's not a bunch of people that look like them,
right?
Amazing family, has raised his kids like black, white, purple, doesn't matter. His kids are on point, man. I mean, they are like on point. Very successful, on and on. Then I had a conversation with Arthur Bush, our friend, you know, coming in.
Yeah, a friend of mine for sure. Arthur and I have been talking a lot over the past couple of weeks as well.
Yeah. And I'm not sure I'm going to go into a lot of the conversations I had. I called your sister yesterday because, of course, your nephew, my grandson, is biracial.
Right.
And I wanted to check in on him and see, you know, how he was doing. You know,
sure.
It's like, want them to be careful there. And Erica, your sister, who, you know, we know her pretty well. And one of the things that she talked about yesterday was she was going to go to Akron today to
join the protest, right?
Join the protest, which as a father, initially it was like, oh shit, I don't want her to do that.
Yeah, it's scary. You don't want kids getting hurt. It's the
right.
worst thing that could happen.
However, then I thought, and then again, you reinforced it this morning saying, you know, Dad, this is like when you grew up. It was
right.
like, this is like Kent State, you know, broad stroke all
right.
over again. It's like, this is our opportunity to protest civil unrest, civil liberties. And that's true. It's happened, unfortunately, and again, I blame it on the media and all of us buying into this crap, that there's other forces at work here.
Yeah, well, for me, I feel like it's common sense. Like I said, so I watched some of the videos from downtown Dover, Delaware yesterday, the speeches that were given in front of the State House, people marching through the streets peacefully, even when they went out to the highway and marched down the highway a little bit.
Right.
I refuse to believe these are the same human beings that are then breaking into stores.
They're not.
Cars.
You're exactly right.
I'm sorry. Just put two and two together, people. If you're watching we live in the ultimate age of information and videos. Watch the videos from the protests.
Right.
It's bullshit. There
right.
is it's not the same people
right.
that are
That's
just,
right.
It's to sit here and say that the anger is proportionate to what black people and minorities have been through over the past hundreds of years is absolutely accurate when you're sitting here talking about protesting, and then to have those people be lumped into criminals that are doing whatever the hell they want as soon as the sun goes down.
Right.
There's just no way.
Right.
It's 95% not the same people.
Yeah, it absolutely is not. You know, you watch a video of the other day, I think it was a National guardsman got detached from his unit and was being surrounded by African Americans to protect him,
Right.
right? Which was like very impactful to me,
Right.
being a white person, right? I saw another video the other day, a line of white women standing in line, locking arms, protecting African Americans protesting behind them.
Right.
Very impactful to me.
Right.
I also saw a video the other day of an Antifa organizer handing out cash and ordering kids around on what to do.
Right.
Kids, 14-year-olds, kids being put in harm's way.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I watched a video the other day of this young African-American gentleman, and they pointed out a big organized stack of bricks in Dallas on a pallet that were put there the night before. No construction site going on, nothing going on. These were planted there to be thrown to create chaos. It's just, it's insanity. I cannot understand as a society where even the far left, liberal leaning Democrats, in this case, cannot just open up their mind. The celebrities running their mouths about this stuff cannot open their minds up just the tiniest bit to come a little bit to center and say, let's have a discussion here. Why are we, I mean, we're attacking the president. Everything is his fault. He created the pandemic. He's killed 100,000 people. Now he's created this racial divide. He says some pretty wacky stuff. But racism has been going on since the early 1600s, since, since African Americans decided to vacation here in the United States. You know, that's not what happened. They got brought here, and so it's not his fault. This has been going on for 400 years. This shit's got to stop, man. The problem is, in the conversation that I've been having with African Americans right now, friends of mine, is that they're all of the opinion that racism will never cease to exist.
If it happens on geological time. So, you know, I've seen, you know, it's funny to sit and talk about progress, and I'm sure that's the last thing that any African American wants to hear is progress. So I've seen people laugh at the comparisons. You know, everyone wants to talk about peaceful. We can be peaceful, and so you make your comparisons and you talk back to Martin Luther King, and they say, well, that wasn't peaceful. Well, you know, you look at the pictures and the videos from back then. Those protesters were just getting the crap kicked out of them all day long.
Right.
So
water hoses, police dogs.
So how long ago was that? So
it
took 50 years to get to the point that we're not just beating the crap out of black people for speaking their minds in public. That's quote unquote progress. So they're probably right in that, you know, who the hell knows how it will ever get to that point. And it's not all, you know, I sit here and talk about all the nice stuff that I saw yesterday, and I've just, for my own sanity, have had to try and focus on the positive, but I couldn't help because I'm a sports guy, so it seeps into my timeline because I try to get distraction.
Me too.
And
fucking
transfer from Harvard University, black gentleman from Harvard University.
Unreal.
One of the top 50 basketball players in college basketball, transfers to Ohio State, has the balls to go to downtown to join protesters, is arrested. This isn't during the day. He's not looting. He's voicing his opinion as a citizen of our country and is arrested. And, of course, real quick, he got turned around. So what happens if he's not a Harvard graduate? What happens if he's not an Ohio State basketball player? Is he still sitting in the jail?
Oh, no, he's got a knee on his neck, probably.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And So this isn't everyone. So that's part of the problem with all this stuff is everyone talks about it for a little bit, and white people talk about it for a little bit, and then all of a sudden we've moved on to the next fucking spin of the media cycle or whatever the next news cycle is,
Right,
and
man.
everyone forgets about it, and then we stop talking about
It's
it.
a fact.
So maybe it's uncomfortable. I've seen a lot of people say this is supposed to be uncomfortable, and it is supposed to be uncomfortable. And again, we're not talking about breaking into businesses. We're talking about awful, awful realities for our fellow human beings that are being overlooked. That shouldn't be something fun to talk about or comfortable, or it should be very inconvenient. It should be very uncomfortable. So, what's next? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I absolutely understand those conversations you're having with African Americans, because I would love to be optimistic and say I feel like things are going to change, but I don't know that they will. And if they do, again, in my opinion, it's on geological time, meaning it's over hundreds of frickin' years. So I don't have an answer.
I agree. Arthur and I talked about today about about racism and it not changing, and we talked about violence. King said a lot of things. He was obviously very, very nonviolent, but he also said, I'm paraphrasing, that at some point the unheard voices need to be heard, and that can only be done through more violent measures. I mean, the fact is, everything that we, privileged white men, have achieved has been through terror, murder. We've taken, literally everything. We've taken our country from Native Americans.
Right.
We've taken we've literally taken everything.
Well, and even our country. I mean, you could just narrow it down to American.
And I don't want to bash white people. That's not my point here.
And I don't even think that it has to be limited just to white people. I think because our country is so unique, and we've been founded on some pretty set in stone principles, and I think those comparisons in a lot of ways are relevant. That the Boston Tea Party was a massive destruction of property and a massive protest and a massive speaking out against the controls of that time.
Right.
So it wasn't race against race, but it was a speaking out in protest against tyranny, and that's the foundation of our entire flipping country, man.
Right.
And you don't get to tell certain people you're not allowed to do this. It blew my mind when I started seeing the Colin Kaepernick stuff and those memes. I hate memes, but that's pretty straightforward, man. It's like, hey, don't protest that way. Don't protest this way. Yeah, it's like you start to think about the stink that people made over that, and it's like,
right, compared to this.
I mean, this isn't new stuff. I'll tell you. I talk about it a lot. One of my favorite comedy shows of all time is Dave Chappelle's "Killing Him Softly," and he's talking about police brutality against black people, and he pretends he's two white people, and he goes, "Mary, did you see this? Apparently, they've been beating Negroes like hotcakes for the past 50 years. It's in Time magazine." So it's like, this isn't anything new. And then he asks a white gentleman in the crowd, "So you've been pulled over before?" He's like, yeah. "So what? What'd the cop do? He come up, he say, license, registration?" Yeah. He goes, "Yeah. See, I was just guessing. I had that shit don't happen to us. I was just taking a guess." Because it's just not the same thing. And we don't have to sit here and talk about good cops and bad cops, because it's not even a conversation about that. It goes so much deeper than that. It's just a complete different life experience. And I guess, I don't know. I'm just speaking my mind, and it's not the proper perspective. I guess a good first step is just saying, I want to have empathy, but it's really impossible. We talk about empathy. I talk about emotional intelligence, and two big themes in emotional intelligence. And
I think we're pretty aligned on that. I'd like to think that we're above average in terms of emotional intelligence.
Sure, and it's still a struggle. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm every time we talk about emotional intelligence, I say this is hard stuff. This isn't a
Yeah.
you study it, you learn it, and you master it.
No,
This
it's
is
a
just
learned
stuff
behavior
to kind
that's
of work towards.
ongoing.
You know, I talked about cultural awareness on a live I did not too long ago. So that's part of one of the subsets of social awareness. Cultural awareness is a big thing.
Yeah.
It's just something you should continue to strive for,
Right.
ask questions, and if people start to gather on a micro level, again, a better understanding and appreciation of what other people's lives are like, just lives. It doesn't have to be about big, awful, life-changing events within society.
Right.
Just get to know people. Period.
Right. Well, in the conversations that I've had with some of the people that I've mentioned, I said, what about your children? What are you teaching your children? And a couple different answers because of their beliefs based in theology. But to prepare their children to walk out that front door as best they can, knowing what lies before them based on the color of their skin, something that we absolutely, positively cannot relate to. The one thing that is disturbing, there's a lot of things that are disturbing. The president the other day says, and this is one of his tweets that got, what are they calling it? What are they calling that? Fact-checked? Yes. Is the one where they start rioting, we start shooting, I think was something like that.
Yeah.
It's obviously inciting comment to make. However, where does it stop? How much of the country has to burn? I think most intelligent people understand that it's not the protesters in vast numbers. It's not Black America in vast numbers. It's not white Americans arm in arm with their black brothers and sisters protesting. It is Antifa. It is the radical left agitating and taking advantage of the situation. Now, like Troy said, plus the fact we've been locked up in our frickin' houses for 3.5 months, man.
Yeah, well,
you had all that shit together, and it wow, that's a recipe for disaster.
Talked about it before the show. It's just criminals. I mean, those are
Go
criminals.
there. Go further.
Just committing criminal acts. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, bad people.
When you start, the up in flames is kind of maybe the wrong words, because you see people burning certain things in effigy or whatever. That's always been a part of protest. But when you're talking about setting property, setting buildings on fire, stealing things,
different deal.
There's not. I'm sorry, there's not gray area there, people. It's a crime. A crime is a crime. It's just if you're willing to go out there and do those things, and you have that inside you to go out there and brutally beat somebody and take something that's not yours. That's just, you're a criminal. And trust me when I say that we don't want that in this country. You don't want that in this country. Nobody wants that in this country, because that'll end badly for everybody.
Yes.
There's no good that will come from a lot of people committing a lot of crimes all at once.
Right.
So there's no win there for anyone. But I think what's unfortunate, and I have seen it on social media, and you can say it's driven by the media, but I was going to say we control social media, but in a lot of ways we don't.
Yeah. Well,
but
we are social media right here.
Sure.
Right now.
I mean, so it is kind of shitty. I've seen a few people called out for sitting there and talking about destruction of property. but they let their mind get taken away from what's actually going on here. So they let their mind decide what the narrative was going to be for them.
Right.
You're free to talk about
Right.
George Floyd
Right.
and talk about injustice all you
Right.
want.
Right.
You're choosing not to talk about that stuff right now.
That's exactly right. And I think being quiet right now, I've backed off until I had my thoughts formulated to the best of my ability before I wanted to sound off. But I think it's important to have a voice.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
to express your voice. Jason Gerdner just wrote in here, there's been a lot of people calling others racist and reaching out to their employers to try to get them in trouble. I think there was a post on his one of Jason's various posts that he does during the day about someone that was involved in one of his posts the other day. I hope I'm getting this right, Jason. That his employer, someone turned him in to his employer and threatened his job and so on and so forth, which is bullshit.
Interesting.
Yeah, very. To be able to do, but the destruction, I think, has to stop. It's counterproductive from the
Sure, but
point
we
of,
talked about it. The people that are doing that don't care if it's
they're
counterproductive.
thieves.
You know, I mean, I can't imagine anything more frustrating. I know George Floyd's family spoke out recently. His brother spoke out recently.
Right.
I can't think of anything that would be more awful. I mean, so you talk about 9/11, similar situation when there were people running scams during 9/11. Can you imagine losing a loved one during that, having to watch it unfold on a national stage, have it jammed in your face for, you still see it. You still have to hear about it. And then to have somebody go out there and tarnish the awful memory further by putting a negative, awful attachment to it of trying to scam people out of money or whatever, all this stuff that was going on after 9/11.
Yeah.
I can't imagine seeing that.
No.
And I'm not sitting here saying that again, everyone that protests during the day is going home and sitting on the couch at night. But I am saying the people that really care about what happened to George Floyd and what's been happening to black people in this country pretty much since they were brought here as slaves, that stuff isn't really part of the message and really is just causing more problems for all of us. I don't think it's what anybody wants to be the end game here. There's a difference between making noise and being disorderly and having your voice heard and just flat out committing crimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on a personal basis, and obviously you being my son, and we know each other well enough to know that a person that you come in contact with of color, that you would help him or her, like without giving it a second thought.
Yeah, sure.
Just like you would whatever color they are, just because of the men that we are. And I would like to think that if that was paid forward by the overwhelming percentage of the population, that would affect some change. I'm also not naive enough to think that racism in some form or fashion will be here forever. See, the laws changed, but the enactment of those laws has never really changed.
Well, and it sounds strange. We talk about the butterfly effect a minute ago here with Troy. I think it starts on a micro level, and it's that guilty of being quiet. I've seen a lot of black people post on social media that if you're not speaking up against somebody saying something or doing something that is wrong, you're just as bad. People talking about the cops that were standing there. Right. You could tackle that guy and knock him to the ground and smash his head a couple times, and then he's not doing anything.
Did you see the video of the I don't know where it was, but a cop with his knee on a guy's throat, and the other cop came over and, threw him off.
Sure.
Of him. Enough, dude.
So, it's, I'm guilty of that on a much smaller scale. Frequently I hear things and see things that I should stand up for. I don't speak up as much as I should, and that's on me. And so if that's my takeaway from this, that I speak up more.
Right. Why do we do that? Why do you figure we do that?
It's
Is
a
it something in our
comfort
DNA, the way we were both raised? What do you think?
I think it's a comfort thing, and it is a convenience thing. Then you do start talking about quote unquote white privilege, where it's just but it's a human nature thing too, where everyone just gets so locked into my world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
Right.
Well, that's not me. I don't say that. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go the extra step. I mean, nobody. So it's kind of what separates leaders from just average human beings too.
Right.
Where a leader, in a business is going to, instead of just pointing out or thinking in their head, they suck at that. They're not doing it right. A leader's going to say, hey, let me help you. Let me show you. This isn't the right way to do this. Let me try and help you.
So important.
And even if it's a horrible human being that is going to say, F you, I don't care. I'm still going to keep doing it this way.
Right.
You still try.
Yeah.
And you say, look, what you just said is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's how you feel. That's fine. You're not going to say it around me. You're not going to say it around my kids. I don't allow that around me and my family. That's not how we live our lives.
There you go.
How often does somebody want to be confrontational and come outside of their comfort zone and say things like that to people that maybe you thought differently of up until you heard that come out of their mouth?
Yeah, well, you don't want to.
No.
By nature, we don't.
No,
want
everyone
to be
wants to avoid confrontation. So again, it comes back to people talking about this isn't supposed to be a comfortable time. I mean, you said you had to pull me up here. I didn't want to talk about this today. I had no interest in coming up here and talking about this today. I'm pretty maxed out, and I don't want to take away from anyone else's. We're all having our own experience, but you mentioned that we've all been cooped up for 3 months, and then to go right into stuff like this, and then you throw business into it.
Right.
But to add on to that, anyone who has small kids right now or has over the past few months, it's been a different experience from people that don't have small children. Yeah. And that's why when we started talking about, and it's hard, I'm avoiding talking about it because I will kind of lose it here.
Right.
I start thinking about what my kids just go through day to day just because it's hard to be a kid. And then there's a lot going on. And then you talk about school shootings and everything else. And then to throw into that God damn it.
Yeah, let it rip.
You got to worry about leaving your house and getting killed by someone who's supposed to be looking out for you.
Right.
I don't know how you prepare your kid for that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either.
I really don't as a parent. I don't.
Yeah. Well, the easy answer is you got to arm yourself, which is unfortunate. All right, so at this point, which is probably not the best point, I got to go take a piss really bad.
No, you're fine.
And then I want to get into dealer liability, and then we'll wrap this thing up, but it's really important, really super crazy important part of the podcast. For those of you that are still listening, and there's been quite a few listening through the whole podcast, I would please ask you to share this thing out. What we're about to discuss is imperative for car dealers, managers to get their heads around. This is real. This is happening. It's not been talked about on social media at all, which is mind-blowing to me, but it's a very real thing, and I'd like your discussion on that. Also, what I'd like to do, most of our audience is white. If anyone can throw in our African American audience, I'd really like to listen to y'all about what you have to say, so we can help learn. So if you want to throw some questions or comments in there, I'll read them. I typically don't do that, but I'm going to during this podcast. And then when I get back, some of the things that we're going to talk about are very important, super important in terms of dealerships and safety and so forth going forward in regard to COVID. So I will be right back. Joe, this is all yours. You can tell Seinfeld jokes or whatever you want to do.
Oh, I'd love to tell some Seinfeld jokes.
Have at it, dude. Your world, I'm just living in.
No, but I I really just wanted to say thanks for anyone who is listening and taking the time to. I know everybody's busy, anxious, stressed out, whatever you want to call it. It's been awful, for lack of a better words. I mean, you could throw whatever spin on it one and take whatever side you want, but the one thing that we can all agree on, from COVID, from middle of March all the way through today, is that it hasn't been a good time to be alive. Especially in America, but worldwide, it's been really, 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 really hard. And I think it's important, and it's we talk about when we do this podcast, we always talk about how we get more out of it than we give. It feels like these are always therapeutic for us. Doing lives. I try to do a live every Friday. I haven't done it for a while, and I think it's been hurting me emotionally and mentally to just open up and start talking about these things, and to hear some of the things that have been going on in your head be vocalized, and then hopefully to have it affect other people, or if you can reach even one person who says, hey, I've been thinking that same thing, and now they're more inclined to be more open and vocal about it. I don't ever know if I'm saying the right things. I like to think that I'm doing my best and doing the right things and putting the best version of myself forward, and trying to raise some awesome human beings who are going to go into the world and spread kindness and do amazing things. And I know that's the goal for my wife as well. But I'm just out here kind of winging it and doing the best I can. And I think that's, to the point that my dad was just making, that, certainly if there is, if there are any African Americans listening, any minorities listening, anyone who would love to contribute and chime in and just educate as much as possible, I'd be more than open to discussing that. Because again, I just doing the best I can here to try to appreciate and understand the situation. I don't think it has to be as black and white as unfortunately we tend to make things out to be. And I feel like it was the same thing with COVID, where it was either COVID's real or COVID's fake. It's like there wasn't allowed to be a middle ground. It was one or the other. And I think, as is always the case in life, the truth lies somewhere in between all that. It'd be nice if we could all have those types of conversations without it being an all or nothing, pick a side situation. I think that's a big part of the problem in our country, is that everything is always you're on this side or that side. And I've always done my best to try to stay as middle of the road as humanly possible. But I don't feel like there is middle of the road when it comes to the rights of human beings, the basic rights of human beings, and being treated like a human being. And I think when those lines are crossed, just again, as a civilization of human beings, we all have a obligation to stand up and make that the main priority. I know everyone's kind of laughed, and I talked about it as well, how the narrative has switched. I've seen a lot of people say, so COVID's done then? We're not talking about that? And obviously, I'm sure it's still out there in some varying levels. It blew my mind that my dad read those numbers off, and I hadn't even heard that, because I've been staying away from it for the most part anyway, just because, again, I try to focus on more positive stuff through the course of the day. I'm just too busy. I have kids and business. I don't have time to get invested in all that. But I do think this is something that, if nothing else, was deserving of stealing the spotlight a little bit. I think it's unfortunate that the focus has been from most mainstream media sources, regardless of how it's being spun or presented, on violence and destruction of property and further violence against store owners, etc., when it really should be and could have been more about the injustices against human beings and against African Americans that take place every day. It's unfortunate. I know I saw in Cleveland, they wanted to make sure that their protests were also about the young woman that was also murdered by police a few years back. I know in New York City they did the same thing. It just stinks that it always has to be something like this that is part of the national narrative to get people to start talking about and have these conversations. So all that is to say, I just appreciate everyone listening, and my ears are wide open if anyone else, wants to talk about it, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it in a public forum. And if it, reached one person who also said, hey, maybe I should start talking about this more, then it feels good that I could at least have accomplished that today.
Man, I walked in at exactly the right time because I'm out there thinking, I would ask people, even if they disagree with me, to have a conversation, not a confrontation, about change. And I'm open-minded enough, come at properly, to listen to and empathize with what's happening because, again, I don't fully understand. Biracial grandson or not, very close friends that are African American or not. I'm going to call out one name, and that's Carrie Wise. Carrie, I'd like to have a dialogue with you about this because I've seen some of your comments, and I see in some of and you made me unknowingly look up the rest of Dr. King's speech about, and again I'm paraphrasing, I'm destroying this, about his feelings about ultimate violence, or ultimate violence. That's not the right way to put it. About non-peaceful demonstrations at some point being more effective. So I do want to say that. I also want to make my point clear, very clear, that the physical destruction of our country, I can't imagine, and we've seen the videos, I can't imagine a black man, woman, who's worked their whole life to create a business in their community, to have it be destroyed by Antifa terrorists because and President Trump just designated them as being internal terrorists, and good on you, Mr. President. And I'm not going to apologize for being a right of center conservative Republican. I'm not going to apologize that. That's who I am. I also say right of center because some left-leaning politics I believe in. I don't believe it's my right to tell a transgender person that they're less than. They have the same constitutional right as my son and myself. However you want to identify is your business. I could care less. I do care when men are participating in women's events, which is foolish and silly and ridiculous. And if somebody beats one of my granddaughters in a race and gets a trophy and she doesn't, I'm going to lose my frickin' mind. But that's a whole nother story, maybe for a whole nother day. But I am a right-leaning conservative American Republican. It does not mean that I am closed-minded to more liberal thinking in certain subjects. Just doesn't. I'd like to think that I'm intelligent enough, open-minded enough to be able to look at both sides. So please, Carrie, reach out to me, whomever. I don't care who it is. I don't care if I don't know you. Marcus Stone was in the studio for 4.5 flipping hours, 6, 7, 8 months ago. You went online here, I don't know if it was today, yesterday, I've again lost track of time, and were very poignant and took us through your dream starting in 1619 when Africans were brought abroad and thrown into slavery and so forth. And I'd like to have a discussion with you, Glenn Lundy. I'd like to have a discussion with you because all of you come at it from a different point of view, which is how I want to learn. So, before we wind this up and go into the next thing, you got anything more to say about this subject?
No, I really don't. I wish I did, but I really don't.
Okay.
I just it's just hard for me. I trying to stay positive and keep my head forward and
We have to.
yeah.
It is imperative, dude.
No, I mean, we've been talking about it. So we've been talking about with COVID, and I've been very vocal about it, that this is a defining moment for all of us as human beings, you know. And I mentioned it to Christina 2 weeks into this thing. I said, this is it. This is,
Defining moment,
you know, I
is the
knock
word
on
you
wood.
used.
I don't want to, I don't want to jinx it, and there will be other hardships, but I don't think anyone will ever face anything like this particular situation. And then to go from that kind of right into this, and of course that's still going on in the background, like you said. I don't think there's a COVID going away. Even if the news cycle goes away, there are still going to be some things that change in our lives. But anyway, my point is, through any hardship that you don't have control over, what can you do? You can control the things that you control and make yourself a stronger and improve your mental resolve, or you can just fold and collapse. I mean, those are the choices, you know?
I want to start the next segment, which with something that'll probably get us kicked off YouTube. It won't, or it shouldn't. But listen up. Oops.
Not good. You mean not good like 1 out of 100? I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Movie never gets old.
It never gets old. So,
You got me for 30 minutes, by the way.
all right, perfect. So the reason I started the clip, this portion that way is he asked her, what are the chances? She said, not good. Give me a number. She said 1 in 1,000,000. So there's a chance. All right. So several weeks ago, again, lost time. We had gone weeks, boo-hoo, poor AutoMax. We had gone weeks without a recruiting deal.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks without revenue. We're a mid-size, top of mid-size type of company, losing, it's all relative, but losing $5,000-6,000 a day in like real money, like there's $5,000, there's $6,000. So we're hurting. So we made some changes, a lot of changes that I'll get around to that are kind of interesting. We get a call from one of our trainers, unnamed, that was had been retained to do a hiring campaign, excuse me, basically for PPP for a dealership in a state that was closed, that was not open. And so here's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into the dealership and I'm going to interview people and this and that, and oh no, we're going to do something different. I'm going to actually go off site. I'm going to go to a hotel. And I said, nope, not happening. What? No, not happening. We've created a complete remote recruiting platform, which you guys should take a look at. So when you contact AutoMax Recruiting and Training, you contact Ernie, you contact Joe, you contact myself, ask about remote recruiting, something which my son brought up to me like immediately. We should have done 2 years ago. He's spot on, dead center. We should have. We were forced into it via the pandemic. But we have a full, flawless, awesome remote recruiting option for all of you that costs the dealer less money because the trainer is not traveling to you. So the airlines and hotels are not making money on the whole package. So it's cheaper for you and just as effective. And yes, we use Zoom, and yes, we use the telephone, and yes, we can use video, and it's awesome. And we've done it, and the results have been awesome. So back to the story. So the trainer's pretty upset. What do you mean no? I said, no, there's no way. We're not doing it. Well, why not? It's okay with the dealer. Yeah, the reason it's okay with the dealer is because we're assuming all the liability. Sure, it's okay with him. He's not going to have any people in a store. He's sending us to a hotel. We don't have any idea what the CDC guidelines, if they're being followed at the hotel that we're going to be at. The answer is no. It's just no. We'll do it in an entirely different way. We can do it via remote. We have a process called AutoMax Hire, which is basically a remote situation that we've done for years. So the answer is no. We're not going to do it. He sucked it up, called the dealer, switched the dealer. We did it, successful. And from what I understand, we're going back to this particular dealer on site now because it's open here in 2-3 weeks. Or
we did a second remote one since then, and now we're doing another one on site in 2 weeks.
John Huey, just as a kind of a sidebar, did a really interesting recruiting campaign where he did half of the potential new hires in class on site and the other half via Zoom.
Yeah, he kept it under 10 on site.
Yeah, very important. So here's my point. Dealers, Google lawyers, lawsuits, COVID. Just Google that. You will see page after page after page after page after page after page. This is going to be ambulance chasing at its finest. I had a conversation with a lawyer about 2 months ago. So what up? What's happening? A lot of wills being drawn up and a lot of COVID cases. I said, what do you mean COVID cases? I said, dude, you're in the recruiting business. Are you kidding me? There's going to be people coming in for jobs, and if people in the dealership are not wearing masks, if they're not practicing social distancing, if there's not Lysol and what's this stuff I have? Hand sanitizer sitting around, they're going to leave. Then they're going to go home. They're going to get on a review site at best and destroy you, being a review site. At worst, they're calling a lawyer and say, I got brought in for a job interview. The interviewee was 3 feet away from me. He or she did not have a mask on. No one in the dealership had a mask on. I felt unsafe. I'm suing. Google this. They're anticipating the average business liability in regard to COVID cases is going to be somewhere in the area of $54,000. I think it was $54,600. So dealers, unless you got a whole bunch of stacks of $54,600 laying around, you need to be careful. The word is liability. So here's how far it reaches. A customer walks into your dealership. The other day, and I think I told you about my Wawa situation, right? So the other day I'm in Wawa, and I'm getting my stuff, and I hear the screaming at the front of the Wawa. Older gentleman with a mask on, just ripping into a kid, ripping into him. calling him everything but a human being. Kid did not have a mask on. Young kid, probably 17, 18, 19 years old. Didn't say a word. Not a word. The manager from the Wawa comes up, told the older person with the mask on that was giving the young kid shit, settle down, got to calm down. I'm going to have to call the police on you. Call the police on me. He doesn't have a mask on, yada, yada, yada. So we finish up. I go outside. The kid's standing there, and there's literally steam coming off him. I walk up to him. I said, look, kid, I'm going to give you some old guy wisdom right now. Walk away. Just walk away. Okay? He's older. He's upset. He's afraid. He's not mad at you. He's afraid. I said, this is a life lesson. If you listen to me, you're going to come out of this thing way better. No, didn't work. So the old guy comes out, and I'm going, I don't think I want to get in the middle of this. So they start MFing each other, and I'm going to do this to your sister, I'm going to do this to your mother, I'm going to do this to your wife. And it escalated. They did not come to fisticuffs. They both got in their cars, started yelling at each other more, and both peeled out of there. Dealers, please open your eyes. I don't care what state you're in. I don't care if you're in a fully open state, which would be, Arkansas, Tennessee, Montana, I don't know. I don't know where they are. I lose track now. But there's a bunch of them that are, quote unquote, open. I don't care how open you are. Prepare yourself. Have masks available. What are they, $1 a piece? Right? These, I think I have one on me. I think. Oh, come on, Craig.
Dead air, dude. Dead air.
Yeah, sorry. These are like $1 a piece, right?
Sure. I don't know. Christina's been buying all of them.
All right, so they're $1 a piece. Buy 1,000 of them. Have your employees wear them. Don't have your employees wear them. It's your right. Unless it's a regulation in the state that you're in, it's your right to run your business however you want to run it. However, keep this in mind. A customer walks in your dealership, looks around, feels uncomfortable, is afraid, is in that age group, whatever. He or she leaves your store, and they will. They will leave your store. They will jump on a review site and destroy you. Or they will go right to a lawyer. We live in a society that loves to sue people. This is an absolute breeding ground of liability lawsuits. Protect your store. Don't be stupid. We can wave the American flag, throw the Constitution all over the place. But the bottom line is this, that at some point, your decision to wave the flag and to hand every single customer the Constitution. The Constitution is an amazing document. Amazing. It's mind-blowing how these men put this together 200 years ago. Mind-blowing, over 200 years ago. However, this is a very unique situation. So when you're interviewing someone, I would suggest against that and go ahead and retain AutoMax. When you're interviewing someone, be respectful. Have your mask on. Be 6+ feet away. Have Lysol available. Have hand sanitizer available for them. Put them at ease. Then if you're hiring 2, 3, 4, 5 people like we do, and you'll see the pictures on social media that we post on Facebook. Distance them. Let them feel safe. Talk to them. Communicate with them. Do you feel okay? Do you feel safe? Is everything good? Are we good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, cool.
Well, a lot of it's about what Troy was talking about. You're giving people options and just including as many people as possible. You see this exclusion. I know Anthony Alagona is big on shut your flippin' mouth about politics and religion on social media because you're cutting your customer base in half. So this isn't as strong as politics and religion, but a lot of people are kind of turning it into that and drawing this hard line in the sand. I'm not wearing a mask. My employees aren't wearing a mask.
Right.
It's like, get over yourself, dude.
Right.
Like, are you here to sell business or to sell cars and run a business, or are you trying to turn this into a moral obligation? It's like, who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
You know, try to include people, make people feel safe when they come into your place of business, and just.
Pretty simple.
I mean, it's, that's not even get into the legal stuff that you talked about or the potential, opening yourself up. It doesn't matter how frivolous the lawsuit is. Anybody can sue anybody at any time. So why wouldn't you want to do as much as you possibly can to prevent that? But, even getting away from that as far as just making people feel better about, coming into your store, your dealership, your restaurant, whatever it may be. This, you don't have to agree with it, but just do it. It's not a political statement. It's a mask.
It is a mask.
Right.
Shoot.
And if anyone's joining us late, we're not wearing them because we sprayed everything with PermaSafe, so we don't have to wear them, guys.
We're PermaSafe up. PermaSafe is an awesome product. While I'm trying to look for this, would you mind... I introduced you right off the bat earlier this morning as the founder and president of Max Safe Consulting.
Sure.
MaxSafeConsulting.com. You can look that up. Would you take a moment and go over with the audience what that company entails and what it means for dealers to be on the platform with us?
Yeah, sure. So, PermaSafe was a big part of that. Obviously, we didn't have enough going on in the middle of all this. We decided we absolutely needed to start a second company and everything that goes with running two companies at the same time. So I really need to get out of here. So anyway, we did, and you hit on it when we were talking about PermaSafe with Troy, was how would our clients that we've been working with for 20 years in some cases feel about us just coming at them with this product. Hey, that's not what you guys do. Why are you talking about this now? And it was kind of odd timing for us. Troy really did bring that to us before everything got very, very relevant in America. So anyway, we decided, not because of that, because we're never ashamed of putting something out there that we believe in, that we've done our research on, that we've obviously had Jay on the podcast and feel good about the people that are behind the products. If we're talking about something, if our clients believe in us, they should know that we have their best interest in mind. But aside from that, we just wanted separate focus. So we wanted AutoMax to still be AutoMax and talk about recruiting and just be AutoMax recruiting. And then we decided, well, we have this partnership with PermaSafe, but we also have some other relationships that for years we've kind of shied away from, frankly, because things have been good with AutoMax. So one of the positives that come out of this is you get lazy, you get complacent, and it doesn't matter how good things are. It's impossible. It's human nature to get your head to a place of things won't always be this cozy and comfort until they're not that cozy and comfortable, and you're like, oh shit, now what am I going to do? So it just forces you, again, and in some cases, and most true leaders out there and people that have been able to keep their heads together and heads about them through all this, you either grow or you crumble. So we chose to grow and use some of the relationships that we've built over the past 20 years to not just expand on our partnership with PermaSafe, but what we've presented it as protecting dealers on multiple levels. So obviously PermaSafe is literal protection, against different viruses, bacteria, germs, et cetera. And again, also protecting our clients against the potential of what you just spoke to, of having people feel unsafe when they come in or
Right.
don't come in. Hell, if you're putting the wrong message out there, PermaSafe's part of that, or whatever you may be using to protect your vehicles, protect the showroom floor. And again, it's just about, you don't have to 100% believe in COVID or whatever's going on or the narrative that's out there. It's enough to know that people are hurting and stressed out, and it's been a tough couple of months, and you should want to do everything you possibly can to make your people come back in.
Correct.
So that was that aspect of it. And then number two, protect your service department from not receiving the payment reimbursements from the OEM that they are legally entitled to on warranty repairs, both for parts and labor. So we formed a partnership with our buddy Rob Gehring at Margin Plus. He has an exceptional software tool that does a lot of that digging in for the service department, so you don't have to have a superstar warranty administrator.
Right.
You don't have to take the hours and hours that go into knowing the state laws in your state for warranty repairs and the reimbursement that you're entitled to. So he takes a lot of that guesswork out. He kind of doesn't win until you win. So it's a half up front, half after I actually show that I'm going to make you this money. We're not talking about small money. I'm talking about $100,000, $200,000
Right.
of found free money. So
Right.
protect dealers against that.
Right.
And then we hooked up with AutoPay Plus for bi-monthly car payments to protect your customers and consumers against inconvenient and really just backwards, asinine loan structures, which
Yeah,
when I started hearing about
no-brainer stuff.
bi-monthly payments, I said, well, sign me up. I can't stand making and I get asked a lot of, well, is this just for subprime? And I'm like, well, there's a market there. But the number one reason for anyone setting up bi-monthly payments is convenience.
Right.
It's just the convenience of
Right.
I get paid, I pay my loans.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Right.
And it's not just for car loans.
Right.
You can bundle
Right.
your home loans and student loans into that as well. And then we're working on something with Troy Spring right now, in regard to what he's doing to protect dealers against the changing landscape of digital retail. And we'll be adding that to the MaxSafe portfolio as well. So
Right.
a lot going on, that's for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, we've decided to create an additional agency, if you will, to fill in the blanks for car dealerships and help them in a number of different areas. So it's cliche, but one call does it all type of deal. And we've been really fortunate, and we're not stupid. So we've aligned ourselves with really smart people that are at the top of their game. So we can offer our clients of 23 years real stuff. Like we're not experimenting on anyone.
No, I mean it's all. and look, I say this. Obviously, the narrative switched with PermaSafe
Yeah.
about halfway through, and it had to,
Yeah.
and we knew it had to.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, here we're trying to help dealers make more money.
Right.
You're not a nonprofit organization.
Right.
You have a business to run, and
Right.
same way we have with recruiting for 23 years of getting you the best people to help you run your dealership in the most efficient, profitable way possible.
Right.
We're now trying to provide some products and services that further that.
Right. In PermaSafe, and we showed a demo earlier today of Joe fogging the studios here at All Systems Go AV, and it's important to protect your employees. It's important to protect your customers. It's important to protect your vehicles. Once you PermaSafe that vehicle gets sold. It goes in the F&I office. Ladies and gentlemen in the F&I industry, there are some difficult sales that happen there. It's a difficult pitch. It's expensive.
Sure.
And you have to really kind of lay out some pain, pleasure scenarios for a customer. This is, gosh, I don't know, lay down is not the proper term, perhaps.
Present.
When you present a PermaSafe warranty, let's say the 3-year warranty, and I don't know, I don't want to throw out, a bunch of prices, but for $300, $400, $500 profit, it's going to be the easiest sale that you have on your menu. It will make you, if you suck if you don't have 60, 65, 70% penetration of PermaSafe, 3-year warranty, you suck. Unless you're trying to price gouge people, which we're totally, completely against. Also, something I wanted to hit on that, speaking of that, dealers, get rid of COVID addendum stickers, please. That's gross. It's just gross. Get that crap off your cars. That's ridiculous. Don't put it on your paperwork. I'm not paying any additional fees to you for COVID. So just stop it. Just stop it. It's stupid. So, yeah, MaxSafe Consulting, terrific company, growing. Love to talk to you about it. Love to have you as a client. My brilliant, beautiful son is running it, and he and his team will take really, really good care of you. An announcement, we just, I think we were the last company on the planet that got approved for a PPP loan. So we very fortunate, very blessed to be able to hire back all the people that we furloughed, which is a great feeling, just a great feeling.
Yeah, some fun calls over the weekend for me, for sure.
Yeah, so that was very cool. So the AutoMax family is back together again, and we love you all, and just we're so fortunate to have all of you as team members, and as a dysfunctional family that is in fact AutoMax and MaxSafe Consulting. So
yeah, and something along those same lines. We've been talking about business owners, and I think a lot of the looting hits hard for us because we are business owners, so it does reach on a personal level. It's not just stuff.
Yeah, good point.
But anyway, I'm fortunate enough to where our employees have all reached out to me multiple times during this, and just total outpouring of how much they appreciate what I do every day and how hard it must be, and just true empathy. Feel free to, don't be afraid to do that, people. Reach out to your bosses, your owners.
Yeah.
And just, they're human beings too.
Yeah, they need that.
It's not hard doing this shit. And there's really only one true group of people that didn't get a whole lot of special attention in all this, aside from the PPP, which comes with a boatload of stipulations.
Yeah.
And it's small business owners. So it's no BS. Really take care of small business owners right now and over the rest of this entire year, and going forward. We talked about it with the online option for purchasing a vehicle. I think again it extends throughout society to the Amazon stuff. There's nothing wrong with Amazon. He's not an evil guy. It's a great idea. You don't have to frickin' buy every damn thing in your house from Amazon. It's okay to leave your house to go buy things, people. Just use it when needed. It's great. It's convenient. It's awesome.
Yep.
Just put some thought into the fact that everything you do, every purchase you make, I saw someone make the analogy of what it truly means to be a business owner, of, when you go to work and you can leave it all behind, that person never gets to leave that behind. Well, it's someone's entire universe, that business that they're running.
Right.
Just understand that. Right. And if you have to spend an extra $2 on something to support somebody, it's not the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's so important. Just reaching out and giving your boss a pat on the back every once in a while. I don't recall the exact context of the conversation, but it was a text conversation you and I had about me, and you said something along the lines of, hey, Dad, I got this. You've been through 3 of these.
Yeah, it was at the beginning.
It's like,
I've really
I got this.
put a lot on myself, and it's awful. I'm not going to lie. It's really, really awful.
Yeah.
But this is your third one.
Yeah.
And this is your third major catastrophe as a business owner.
Yeah.
And it's not something I would wish on anybody. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's live or die. It's a lot of pressure every single day, and the rewards are great, as you get through it and as you grow from it. But the challenges are real. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to someone. And really, that kind of feeds into if I had one takeaway from everything that we've talked about today. You mentioned have conversations, not confrontations. I would say it's okay to have disagreements, so be careful with that. I think another way to put it would be talk with each other. Don't talk at somebody.
Yes.
And get off social media. Pick up the phone. Everyone's so scared of phones anymore. I know we can't all be in person. The phone is a beautiful invention, people. We've built a 23-year company off using the phone, so I love technology. I love Zoom. I love Facebook. I love text messaging. I've built and made some amazing relationships in my life with people that I still haven't met to this day, and that's on me. We got to work on that as a company, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there's things that you will type out to somebody that you would never dare say to them in a phone conversation, and of course face to face. And you'll find that if you just start there and speak with the intent of listening and understanding what comes back to you instead of just trying to talk at people. Seems like that's all social media is, and that's a function of just the logistics, the way it's set up. You have a bulletin board and you speak at them, the comments that come underneath that's not a conversation, man.
Right.
That's not a substitute for having a one-on-one conversation with somebody.
Not at all.
So, I just do everything you can to understand that you don't understand, I guess. And it a lot of that is about racism, but it extends beyond that. I talk about business owners, and if you're not a business owner, it's hard for you to truly understand what other business owners go through.
It is.
But just try. Everyone has to try. No, everyone has gotten so lazy, and they've just stopped trying to understand what someone else is saying or what they're living. And I think it's, at a micro level, at the root of a lot of our problems as a society is no one cares enough to try and understand what other people go through.
Yeah. Well, I know that I understand what you go through, and I appreciate you so much.
Thanks,
and
dude.
I don't have any idea what I would do without you.
I appreciate it.
Zero clue.
You too. I appreciate it.
So to wrap this thing up, it's a quote that I found, and I did a part of a show about it, and I think it's appropriate at this point in time. And the quote is this, that rising tides raise all ships. So as our tides rise together, it raises all the ships, not one, not two. It raises all ships. So let's be each other's tide. Let's rise together, work with each other, try to understand each other, listen to each other, and keep in mind that rising tides raise all ships. We love you very much. We so appreciate you as an audience. And we will be back next week. I'll announce when, where, who the guest will be. I already know who the guest will be, but we have some pretty cool shows lined up here over the next month. So, again, thank you so much for listening, and please leave comments, share this thing out, and talk to us, man. We're reasonable people. Love to hear from you. And your last word would be what?
Nothing. I think I said everything I had to say, and I love you guys. Love everybody, and just keep pushing forward. All you can do. It's so funny, Disney, man. And